Blazing on the track, boy.
Hello. How is everyone doing tonight? And welcome to week 3 of the Legends Rival Series Premade League. Excited to kick things off tonight. We're already 3 weeks, not really a kickoff. We're 3 weeks into this split already. And, we're starting to see some of these teams show up. Some big stuff going to be here tonight, as it will be... Whoa, not going to make all of that disappear. It will be VX taking on Team PVE here. Let me just get that up on the board. There we go. In a best of 3 series. So lots of great stuff to come tonight. PVE looking like a almost like a regrouping of the Sharks, our former champions from last split. So very excited to see them play today. And of course, very excited to see all these brand new faces coming from the side of VX. Really a wild card. So going to be very interesting to see what these guys bring out against essentially our former champions here. Going to be super fun. But with that, we are going to be getting into pick and ban very soon as our players are ready to go. And tonight on the desk is none other than our beautiful casters, Rocket1, aka Bambooper, and my boy Overcomer. Lads are going to do a fantastic job tonight and have lots and lots of good casting to bring to us. But before we head on over to the caster desk, just a reminder that we do have merch currently out. Use that merch command in the chat there. I'm going to put it up for you guys to go and check out our shop. Lots of great stuff in there. I've got my sweater. Actually got confirmation that is on the way here. So very excited to have my nice cozy sweater as we get into the fall. But with that, guys, looks like players are just reorganizing themselves in the lobby, so I'm going to hand it on over to our casters, and they're going to take things away. Lads?
Ladies and gentlemen, what is up? It is Bambooper here to bring you some LRS gameplay with Overcomer as my co-caster here. Overcomer, how are you doing?
I am ready to see some spicy action.
I'm glad to hear it. And we've got PVE versus VX. Very interesting first game here. PVE, sort of like Gurf said on the desk, reincarnation of what the Sharks were last split, except with a new top laner and a new mid laner. They're looking even stronger than they were last split. And I'm hoping they can bring something going up against VX, two teams that are pretty much even against each other in standings. They're both 1-1 right now, so it seems like they're both doing okay.
Yeah, definitely. Games like these are kind of always fun to watch as well, just because when it's something like 1-1, whatever happens tonight is going to give that team the edge in the leaderboard. So they're definitely going to kind of throw it all out there in hopes of kind of claiming that spot on the leaderboard above their opponent.
Yeah, and week 3 seems to usually be a benchmark for some sort of splits, as we'll usually start seeing a bunch of definition in sort of the bracket. A lot of 1-1 teams will start changing up, being either 1-2 or 2-1. You'll start seeing a lot of division in brackets, and especially here where we have a lot of 1-1s in the LRS Premade. It's going to be super fun to see this matchup and see which team brings the heat going into the first game of this series.
Yeah, and with VX being a bunch of new faces as well, it kind of helps show us that we know, like, we've seen PVE or multiple players of them in action, being that they were the Sharks last split. But when you have a new team as VX, it's a massive wild card when it comes to action. So we don't know how they're going to fare against PVE.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I'm super excited to see VX too. They have a star-studded roster, almost all diamond or plat. All of their players have been performing pretty well in terms of stats throughout the year, and things are just getting really nice for them. I mean, it's 1-1 now. Obviously, I believe they won last week, so they did start off a little rough, but they are starting to swing back a little bit. So things are looking in favor of VX, as we are hopefully getting into draft really quickly here. And yeah, so just looking at a few of these players, we've got like Aquanthony. That's going to be a fun name to say, Aquanthony.
Aquanthony.
Yeah, he's Diamond
yeah.
4. He's sitting in that top lane for them. Extremely solid player up against Psychonautic here. Psychonautic probably the lowest ranked player in this lobby at the moment, but that's not to defer from his skill, because you know he can put up those numbers, and he's got a pretty nasty Camille. So
Yeah, I mean,
things can get a little spicy in that top lane. I mean, Aquatoni or Aquanthony. Oh, that name is gonna be so hard to say. Aquanthony. Obviously has a lot of prowess on these high engaged top laners, these duelists like Jax, Camille, Renekton. He's a big fan of those, and also Tryndamere too. Any of those are really cool to see in the top lane. You don't necessarily always see those, and it's very nice to see some different champion pools show up with the fresh meat that came in this year for LRS, LAS, and everything in between.
yeah, definitely a lot of new faces for this fall split we have, and it's definitely gonna kind of shake things up as we continue to move forward because you know, like when you have a limited player base and a lot of these players have played multiple splits, you kind of like get to know their abilities. You kind of watch them perform day in, day out, and then you get a split like this where you have half the teams as complete new players, and you just don't know what to expect going into each of these games at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, I am getting some news that VX's jungler cannot make it. Apparently, there is a bit of an Ethernet cable bug. So they are going to have to be using a sub. It is going to be, I think, it looks like we're going to, if LCS order is correct as of this moment, we are going to get Happy Game. Oh wait, never mind. I should just not talk
The thought
before
was there.
it's locked.
The thought was there.
Okay, yeah, here. So we've got sub in the middle, or a sub in the jungle. It is going to be is it Scarlet 1 is going to be their jungler now?
Yeah. It looks. Maybe.
Sorry
No.
about that. We are just getting the roster locked here. All right, yep. So it will be Scarlet 1 in the jungle there. Super Frankie in the mid lane. They have a sub in the ADC role, LCL. And Happy Game is their support versus obviously the three of the reigning champions and a few I'm gonna not say
Additionals.
losers because that would be bad. Yeah, additionals.
Additionals. I mean, the thing is too, like, I know I can't say I've necessarily seen those players completely in action, but they have been able to hold their own. You know, if you have 3 members of the Sharks making a team with these players, then you know that they've played together or they wanted each other to be on this team. So it definitely kind of helps them out because when you make a pre-made team, if you are already knowing who you want on the team without kind of just looking for a player to fill a spot, then you definitely kind of get that higher synergy base because you're kind of more comfortable with each other going into a game knowing that you like wanted them with you compared to just, oh, you're some rando so we could get 5 people together.
Yeah, I mean, and that's obviously not to doubt on their synergy. I'm sure Can of Tin and Psychonautic have fit like puzzle pieces into this team. We just haven't been able to see at the moment because this will be the first time we see them on stream, and I'm very excited to see. I'm wondering where things are going to be going, as PVE not as hot as the Sharks started off last split with a 1-1 record would seem like a underwhelming performance, but at the exact same time, that's just a statement to how high the competition is in the LRS draft as we are getting into the draft at the moment here. So what do you think is going to be some of the bans we see from VX, maybe PVE, to start off this game 1?
I wouldn't be surprised to see an Olaf come out from VX. Lunar Effect has definitely demonstrated his mastery on that champion through multiple splits. And then I also wouldn't be surprised to see PVE possibly ban out the Shen from Aquanthony because
there it is.
Yeah, because just looking at his op.gg and you just see the difference between his Shen compared to every other champion he plays. But definitely going to be an interesting matchup just to see how this jungler decides to fare against Lunar Effect, who, as a player, has already kind of established himself as a very dominant jungler in Legends Esports.
Yeah, and I mean, like you were saying with the Shen pick, he has been spamming Shen games recently. It's a very solid top laner who doesn't really have any really rough matchups in the top lane. And yeah, just like you're saying, just taking off comfort picks for PvE here, just taking off like high priority picks that they could be first picking, like the Shen, the Caitlyn, taking those things completely off the board so that they can have more of an open field and can get some pretty 50-50 matchups, maybe even like in their favor going into being on this red side, which can give you some favorable picks going into the second ban here. We do get Morgana coming out, which makes a lot of sense for VX, as K-God is quite a scary Morgana, and I will give him that. And they might even have a flex in the mid lane, but I'm not going to go too deep into that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been too surprised if they had opted to go for Aphelios as well. I do know that Vapist is very, very proficient on that champion. He definitely knows the limits to Aphelios a lot better than your casual player does. So, if PVE doesn't pick up Aphelios in this first round, or any ADC for that matter, then there might be an Aphelios ban round 2, but we'll have to see what they prioritize.
And it'll actually be the Casio locked in for VX here. Very good, because it actually gives you sort of that flex potential. You can put it in the mid lane. You can also throw it in bottom lane, and it just gives a lot of variance to that first pick. You aren't necessarily locked into showing your hand too early, and also it's just a very safe mid pick. There's not a lot of things that can go wrong with a Casio mid. Things can be rough, and your Casio can still pop off, as it'll actually be the Ziggs locked in for PVE on that first pick. Not sure if that's going to be going to Tin or if that's going to be going to Vapist, but that is a Ziggs.
That's pretty safe bet again. I mean, when you have champions who you can flex between like 1 or 2 roles, early picking them, especially in the case of VX picking up a Cass, is kind of nice, because even if you were planning on having them maybe go mid lane, if you decide it would be better to go bot lane after seeing what the other team picks.
Whoa. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we just got a Singe locked in the top lane. Excuse me? They just went Casio Singe. Like, they actually just did it. They don't care. They're just gonna poison people, and they're just gonna chase them down with ease, and it's gonna not be fun for anyone.
Basically,
why would they ban Teemo?
I think Teemo might have been.
Yeah, Teemo was obviously banned because they lost a ban from the E-sub, but
I'm pretty sure it's the E-sub no ban.
But Teemo would have fit perfectly in this comp. Am I wrong?
Yeah, true. You could just use Ivern as your no ban and then pick up Teemo later.
Yeah, pick up Teemo Twitch.
Yeah,
but to get past the memes here, that is a Singe locked in the top lane. Pretty interesting pick here with the Kha'Zix jungle. Obviously a very early game centered jungler who usually needs to get the ball rolling, and against these squishy picks that PVE is picking right now, it actually makes a lot of sense. And Kennen is a lock-in for probably Psychonautic. I don't think Tin necessarily will play Kennen more so than, say, like a Ziggs, or even just like whatever they're going to pick in the second half. But I am very interested, because this does lock them into a very AP-heavy top and bot. Unless they throw the Ziggs in the mid lane and they lock an ADC here.
Yeah, definitely going to be something they have to keep an eye on, is that magic damage, just because, if you throw too heavily on AP, it could work in your favor if you have a hard scaling AD champion, maybe like a Yasuo or someone, who then, when you force the team to build more MR because you have so many AP champions, your AD champions then just scale so hard because there's not as much armor to be built. But it's still one thing you got to be careful, is because when you're coming down to AP scaling, you don't really win early game that much, just because your abilities tend to have higher cooldowns. So if you fall behind on an AP sort of carry, it's a lot harder to get to that late game scaling in time to kind of make an impact on the game.
Yeah, and that's another thing to note, that AP champions usually have a much rougher time with their item breakpoints. A lot of champions, not necessarily Kennen in this sense, but a lot of champions like Ziggs require about 1300 gold before they can necessarily like take an efficient trade. So it will be on PVE to sort of steady out this early game and make sure that the Kazakhs doesn't start rolling through them. And that's not even to say that their scaling is better. It's just to say that it's going to be rough trying to avoid getting, jumped on as these very small creatures that PVE has versus VX with that Kazakhs. And now looking at PVE's hover here, it looks like we're going to have a Volibear, and there will be the Volibear locked in. Not sure if that's going to be going to Lunar Effect or if that's going to Psychonautic. There's still quite a lot of flex potential in this PVE comp right now.
Yeah, I believe if I had to guess, that it would be the Volibear jungle, just because you can sit there. You don't really have the tanks, and if you're playing Volibear top, you don't want to give up that jungle kind of proficiency. We've already seen how efficient Volibear jungle can be, building tank and you still being really kind of relevant.
Wait,
with damage. So
what? What?
Okay, I think that's singed.
All right.
Is that singed mid or singed support? Or...
Okay.
I want to say it's Cassiopeia APC for VX.
I want to say it's Yasuo. I want to say it's singed Yasuo bottom lane with Orin top,
yeah.
Kazakhs jungle, Cassio mid.
I think it would have to. I mean, it also could be Orin support. So I mean,
yeah, I think Singed and Ornn are like vice versa, but this is a really experimental team comp from VX here. No ADC, very short ranges on pretty much everyone in their team. PVE seems like at this point they have a lot of more favorable in terms of range. They can match a lot of what VX would want to do, and they don't really have a lot of options for going in besides a Yasuo R and like a Singed just running directly at you, which is basically what Volibear wants to do, but with the rest of his team comp, he's basically allowed to do that. Not to say that VX is in a disadvantaged spot already, but
looks like they're trying to pick Yone. From what I'm seeing, the players in chat, Yone is not on PentaQ currently, so they're looking like they're just gonna pick something. So I believe that Ivern is gonna be Yone for this team. So it does look like Ziggs will be APC and Yone will be mid lane.
I mean, who knows? Lunar Effect will be looking at that quite nasty Ivern in the jungle there. I would be I'd be quite down for that. But yeah, realistically though, that is the Yone locked in. Probably going to be in the mid lane there for Tin. So the comp is pretty rounded now. It's got the AD damage that they were so harshly lacking for a long time. And we will get to see a taste of Yone. I'm very excited to see that Yone has not been seen really anywhere. It is not available in like the LCS. It won't be available for Worlds. It won't be available in most places, but it's available in the LAS, the superior league anyways. So Yone is currently available, and Canotin is going to be showing us his prowess on that champion. So hopefully that is the case, as we do get a leave in champ select. Seems like somebody forgot the microwave was on and had to turn it off before the game started. So no real difficulty there, as we are just waiting 1 second here. Just looking at the comps though, I mean, we got like Singed Cassio, super cool. You got Ornn and then Yasuo. Ooh, that's a little rhyme scheme right there. I mean, Singed Cassio, Ornn, Yasuo. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I mean, VX kind of has a lot of duplicate roles where you have two grounds with Cassiopeia Singed. You have a knockup on Ornn on Yasuo, and I believe the Singed flip can be ulted as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's still at least a double knockup between the Ornn and Yasuo. you do have the Kazakhs to kind of get the ball rolling early game. So if he can manage to kind of get that Yasuo and that Cassiopeia kind of fed in the early game, they'll be sitting in a very comfortable spot. And as long as they don't kind of throw away an early lead if they build one up, they should be able to close the game out fairly quickly. However, PvE is definitely sitting very kind of team fight oriented. You know, you have a Kennen who can get a large AoE stun. You got the Thresh with the box, the Ziggs, which is just Ziggs, not really any explanation needed. Volley, which very effective for diving towers, especially when it comes to team fighting around in a lane compared to in the jungle or around something like Dragon. And then you'll have Yone as well, which will definitely also provide a lot of kind of hard damage, but also with that ult knockup, kind of gathering everyone together. You definitely could see burst potential if Yone gets a 5-man ultimate into a Ziggs bomb with a Kennen ult and a Volibear ult. Like, they're all 5 members are just going to kind of get HP bars melted. So,
yeah, that is very true. This is a very pile-on team comp that PvE sort of has here. It's like, as soon as one thing goes down, you should have another thing that sort of minimizes how big that first thing was, and then you have another thing that minimizes how big that last thing was. And you just sort of keep growing with your ultimates so that you can, you know, win a team fight with an effective ultimate rotation. But we have a lot of and it looks like Lunar Effect does not own Volley
on this account.
Hmm.
Interesting.
So Lunar Effect is opting into first timing a champion on his PV his team. That is interesting.
I mean, it might be possible that he's played it on a different account. I know a lot of these players have alternate accounts that they also do play on sometimes in the leagues like this as well. So it's possible he unlocked on an alternate account and didn't realize that he doesn't have it on this kind of. This, I don't know if this would be considered his main account, but
yep. I mean, now it is. I mean, after the unfortunate effects of Edon, Lunar Effect is his main account, and now we are getting our check. So hopefully, this will be the last time you hear that little sound for getting in draft, and this will be the last time that we have to go over these bans and picks because I
mean,
I'm gonna be honest.
Secretly, these teams are just stalling for streams so we can talk about them longer.
Oh yeah, definitely. They just want ego boost before the game, you know.
Exactly. How else do you play in Platinum to Diamond? You know, boost your ego. You play better. So.
Yep. So it will be the Ornn locked in for Aquanthony. Aquanthony. It's hard to say 10 times fast. Can do it. Volibear, yes, locked in. I'm actually interested to see Lunar Effect on Volibear. We haven't seen it before, and obviously for good reason, considering he didn't even own the champion. Not saying that he's not gonna do good on the champion. I'm sure that champion requires about half the brain cells in my brain, which is about 1 to play. So,
well, difference is playing him is one thing, but you know, being relevant at a competitive level like this is an entirely different level. So
that is true, but I feel like in isolation, Kazakh's Volibear is pretty rough for Kazakhs. And when Kazakhs wants to get the snowball rolling early, it's going to be hard when you have that beefy, like, 1,500 HP bear just walking through your jungle trying to get your camps, and you're just a bug. You're just trying to, you know, survive, get to level 6 so you can get a strong Q, but Volibear is not going to have any of that. He's going to run at you a level 3 with EQ and hopefully shut you down, and that's what Lunar Effect's probably going to be looking to do, is try and win this isolation, and it will be the Cassio and the ADC and Yasuo in the mid lane. So a little bit of a difference from what I thought, and it will be the Singed, like I said, there's that support. So
I mean, Cassiopeia Singed together, that's a pretty nasty lane, but
yeah, it's a pretty interesting lane.
They do have the Ziggs APC as well, so it's kind of a double AP bot lane.
Yep, and for sure. So make sure you guys are voting on the poll. We are going to get that up in about 50 seconds here to make sure you guys let us know who you think is going to win. Is it going to be VX or is it going to be PVE? I think personally, I want to see VX win this game just because their comp is so just everywhere. It's just an amalgamation of so many just different ideas and like synergies, and they all just sort of bleed into each other. This doesn't feel like a comp, more so just like a storyline. Like it feels like I'm reading the lore, looking at these champions' faces in a row. It's kind of cool. But yeah, either way, guys, make sure you vote on who you think is going to win. And Overcomer, who do you think is going to win this game?
I mean, honestly, not to also just cash the curse VX, but I think I'm gonna give it to PVE this game just because putting aside what we know their team can do, just going by what they have, you have that Yone to kind of gather people up into a team fight if you time it well, and we have seen Can of Tin perform very well on multiple champions in previous splits. So with the backup of his team, you get to a team fight, he gets one good ult, and then you turn into a Ziggs bomb, a Volibear ult, and a Cannon ult, and VX basically won't be able to move for about 15 seconds. So it makes it a kind of a very one-sided team fight the later the game goes on. So as long as they can kind of not fall behind, then I think they definitely can pull it out.
So a little bit of disagreements on the caster couch, but make sure you guys get your votes out. We want to hear what you guys think. Make sure you use the exclamation mark and the vote word right after the exclamation mark so that you can vote. You can see Wedge and Legend Esports all voting at the moment, and hopefully we can get those results for you as we are getting into game here. And like you say, PVE looking with that giant wombo combo could be pretty insane. If we're looking at later in this game, could be pretty insane to cast too. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm not going to get too excited. We are going to look at VX as well for their solo lane potential. They have that Cassio singed in the bottom lane. Could be some cheese going down there.
Yeah.
Singed, obviously a very oppressive champion. If he does get ahead, he can hold waves very effectively. And Cassio's not one of those champions where you want your waves to be held. So yeah, especially with Ziggs and Thresh, I feel like Thresh sort of he doesn't lose value, but his hook becomes three times less useful on Singed than on Cassio.
It's like, and if he chooses to take the hook too, then he's basically letting himself get flipped by Singed. So
yes, basically it's kind of rough for Thresh in this lane, but it is going to be on a lot of eyes on Ziggs for that poke, to be able to poke them down, allowing them not to walk directly into them, which is what they kind of want to do. They kind of just sort of want to funnel into like one single line and just walk at them, as Singe is like standing like three feet in front of Cassio. Cassio's just firing a Twin Fangs for like 3 hours at him.
Pew pew pew.
Yeah, basically.
It's gonna be kind of fun to watch this mid lane. You have Yasuo versus Yone, a matchup that you don't see that often, and their kits and builds paths are almost completely identical, if not identical. So kind of seeing who's going to come out on top. Both champions can definitely either go 10-0 or 0-10 here, so going to be interesting to see kind of who comes out on top in that mid lane and who gets those roam to kind of help snowball the side lanes.
Oh yeah, and I actually didn't even think about that. It will be the brother duel up in this mid lane here. The lore brotherhood. Yasuo won in the lore, so we'll see if the Yasuo can pull out the lore right as the victory in the mid lane can go through. But who knows here?
Yeah, definitely going to be probably. If I had to put my bet on it, I would say mid lane is going to be the biggest bloodbath this game. I think, at least in terms when it comes to kind of aggression and kind of looking for those fights. So does have a good kind of. I wouldn't necessarily call it an advantage having a Kha'Zix, but sitting with the Kazakhs is kind of a lot easier, especially post level 6, because he kind of just Kazakhs can run in invisible, and you think Yon's going in as a 1v1. No, it's actually 2v1. He just doesn't realize it yet. So.
All right, and we actually have the results for the poll. It was actually a tie. So both teams getting equal amount of votes here. Nobody really sure on who exactly is going to win. So it makes sense. It makes sense when you really think about it that we're both tied here. I mean, Overcomer and I were tied on the caster desk, and now the vote is tied in the chat. So as we are getting a pause
chat
here,
just wants to copy us.
Yeah, chat's just copying the caster desk. Follow his lead. Yep, we are ready
Yeah.
on that 5. So
I am ready at 5 seconds.
Alrighty, here are the lineups.
So fairly
Looking
standard
at
items coming out. So
yeah, and looking at the ruins, they're pretty normal too. You see Conquer on pretty much all the people that you would see Conquer on. I am interested to see Conquer on Scarlet though. He is gone Kazakh, so he might be going a bit of the Brucery build, which makes it so that his early game is a lot less reliable, but it also means that he scales to that second, third item power spike extremely hard compared to let's say like a lethality Kazakhs who really only scales past like 1.5 items.
yeah, and I mean, kind of with that Conqueror too, kind of gives him more usefulness just all around. Just because when you have a team fight like Ornn, Yasuo, and then a Cassiopeia Singed as well, your fights won't you're not like kind of doing the one burst kind of fight over in 2-second type thing, but your fights will be dragged out, maybe like almost like 10-second fight type things. So at that point, even as kind of an assassin jungle, you still have time to stack Conquer and get that bonus damage off for when you finally decide to dive onto a squishy champion or onto those low HP champions to try to get those jump resets.
Oh yeah, definitely. And looking at top lane here, we actually have the spellbook on Ornn. I'm a big fan of that pick. I usually think you lose a bit of damage in the lane when you don't take grass, but I guess spellbook is very useful for just playing safe in the lane, especially against a Kennen where you know you're going to be pretty harassed for the early portion of the laning phase. And looking at mid lane here, Kenneth's getting a little bit of an early push down. Going to have to crash the wave on wave 1.
Yeah.
As nothing too crazy going on at the moment. Both junglers starting up on that top side, so they will meet in the bottom half. I'm not quite sure who that will favor at the moment, but I am sure it will be exciting either way.
I kind of think it might favor the X just because I feel like the Cassiopeia Singed is a stronger early game synergy compared to the Ziggs Thresh.
Oh, that's an early flash in for level 1 there. Or just as he hits that level 2 power spike on the Singe, he's looking for that flip. So big aggression coming out in that bottom lane. You know that he has the Hex Flash though, so he doesn't really have to worry. And we do see the bottom lane of VX walking up to get a little bit of control in that bottom lane, so Kazakhs can safely secure his scuttle.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to kind of that 3v3 jungle bot lane kind of synergy, VX just has the edge over, although Volley might win a 1v1 versus Kazakhs. It's also kind of varied based on isolation damage. With the isolation damage bonus, Kazakhs might do more with less items.
Very true.
And
now we
then-
see Lunar Effect walking down for the scuttle, but we do see Kazakhs just sort of chilling in that bot side. Maybe the Volibear will be able to get a catch here, as the scuttle does go down. And now there is a call for a fight. The mid lane will rotate up as the Singed is here, but Lunar Effect is starting to rip onto that Kazakhs. The Kazakhs will have to flash, and the Thresh Lantern will get him to safety. The Yone is getting a little bit of damage on Yasuo on that top side of the screen there, but now it is VX being corralled into that side there. Yone is going to pick up a kill, actually double kill for Yone, and Volibear will pick up the kill on the Singed. VX just getting corralled right there. That was so unfortunate. It looked like they had no answer to being just absolutely pushed into that corner. The re-rotation from Lunar Effect mid-fight there really stopped them from being able to catch a pick. And it was just all curtains as soon as the Lunar Effect got out with that Lantern.
Yeah, and the Kazakhs unfortunately getting caught in that dragon pit, not having to burn his flash to avoid dying earlier. And I don't believe his jump was up because I think he used that to escape as well. So he kind of just stuck sitting there and kind of let PVE kind of just walk in on him. And it's like, well, looks like I'm going to die now. So
yeah, and now the Yone is looking terrifying. Let's be honest here. He's got the Zeal already. 2 kills. Got a bounty. That's a scaling Yone, and he's not really scaling now. He's already power spiked. So
yeah,
things are already looking a little scary for VX, but at the same time, that's not to say they are out of the game. They've got the Ornn, they've got the Cassio, they've got these scaling options, and I'm sure if they can slow down the game a little bit past that point, maybe they just got a little over anxious at the beginning, and maybe just a little bit of an uncharacteristic play. But all is well that doesn't end in the loss of the game, so obviously things are fine for VX at the moment. Hopefully, as the Ornn is having a fine time in this top lane. There is a bit of a CS difference up there, about 6 CS, maybe like half a wave, but
yeah, it's gonna be fairly, I think, stalled out. Neither of them really all-inning until they kind of get that complete item.
there's the knock-up onto the cannon there. A lot of trade damage, just a big poke. Cannon walking a little too far up there, gonna take a little bit too much damage for his liking.
Yeah, so I don't think with that they can really kind of 1v1 without either one of them in top lane having that ultimate available to them. So once they get those ultimates, I think we'll see a lot more kind of skirmishes between them, because Ornn puts out a high amount of CC, but Cannon can not only match the CC, but he also can put out a lot faster amount of damage. So
Yep, and now we see an engage in the mid lane here. The Yasuo ulti does come down, but Yasuo is being traded back on extremely heavily, and the third Q from Can of Tin is going to come through, knock him up, and take his life. So that will be the brother of Yone actually winning that battle in the bout there. Just a very nice trade-off for Can of Tin. Now 3-0, sitting very pretty as he's going to knock up that Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix just trying to pick up that mid wave a little bit before he gets knocked out by the Yone, and that allows Lunar Effect to walk freely into his bot side jungle, and Yone will look to as well. As a fling is there on the bot side, Cassiopeia is trying to chase down Thresh now, is going to be able to take the kill. Are they going to look at Vapus too? Vapus is being chased down. This singed Cassio is pretty broken the cheese as the TP is cancelled on the top side here. Ornn is going to try and get a trade back, but is now taking a lot of damage as Ziggs is still in a very rough position in this bottom lane. Going to pop the barrier as there's an Ornn Horn in the top lane. Going to try and get a solo kill here, but the ulti from Kennen is the under tower and he's going to die, and the Cassio is going to get executed on the top bot side. Oh my god, so much stuff is happening. The Singed didn't even go down. What is going on? Okay, Direct-to-Cam sort of throwing me for a loop there, but if I can salvage my memory correctly here, we have Ornn dying on the top lane from a educated fight, and then we had one death in the bottom lane. K-God died, and that was it. That was it, right?
Kind of, yeah. So
going crazy on the
summarize. So what happened basically? Ornn kind of had the advantage going all in, but he missed his W. If he had landed that W on the cannon, I think he would have got the kill and Cannon walked out alive. But Cannon with a really nice timing with that ultimate and kind of kiting backwards.
Just getting a little caught in the mid lane there. Lunar Effect not giving Happy Game a happy game here. Very unfortunate, but
doesn't want to give him his namesake. But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then bot lane they kind of got that early advantage, picking up. I believe it was the Thresh that they killed.
Yeah, they picked up the Thresh, and then Ziggs almost died too, but he had to end up popping the barrier, and he did end up walking away with his life.
Yeah. And then the Cassiopeia, getting executed, probably had chased him under tower, seeing if she could pick up that kill. Or
I think she executed it just because Lunar Effect came in from the bot side and just wanted to avoid giving up a kill. Very smart though, as she be sitting on a lot of nice items at the moment. She's got her tier already, got the double amp tome, is looking quite pretty in the bottom lane. So we'll see what she can do later on in this game. Cassio is a very strong character later, and
Yes, definitely is a hard scaling, and when you have someone like Singed on your team as well, it makes it so much easier to kind of get that poison for your Twin Fang bonus. So
a little bit of damage up in that top lane. The Hextech Revolver really putting in a lot more burst damage as the hook goes down on from K-God here. The knockback from the Satchel though, as Kha'Zix is in the bottom lane and will be able to clean up 1 kill. Will he be able to get 2? It does not look like it though. Actually, yes, he will flash in with the Roots Q and a lot of damage as Yon is getting a little bit of trade in the mid lane there. But a nice, good gank. Vapist and K-God getting caught out a little bit too over aggressive in the bottom lane. And now Cassio will be sitting on a large sum of gold and be very happy with herself. I mean, if there's any time for a Cassio to start being happy and looking towards the late game, it's when she's 3-1 in that bottom lane and that 1 kill was just an execute.
yeah,
As the Yone is going to get an ulti down on the mid lane here, and that's just a solo kill for Kenneth Sin. The item disadvantage, like, there is no reason to be fighting him at this point when he has a PD and you don't even have your crit cloak yet. There is no reason. You're 0-2.
It's definitely not going too well for that mid lane.
As Kha'Zix is going to try and get a trade onto Yon here, but I don't think he wins this either. But the Singed is here, so things could be looking a little different. But Lunar Effect is also sitting on the wings, is going to be getting a bit of damage down onto the Singed, but not going to be getting the kill. So, yeah, Yone is a champion that is quite strong right now. At least not necessarily with base stats or anything, but since he's got the PD in this game compared to just a crit cloak from the Yasuo, he's really showing his brother that he's superior son at this moment. So.
Yeah, definitely the kind of PVE knowing to push their advantages. Yone in the right hands can definitely a force to be reckoned with, but you know, 2-0 Volibear, 2-0 or 4-0.
Gonna catch out this Kha'Zix in his own jungle here, gonna hop away, and Lunar Effect was not in a position to look for something, but if he was, that would have been a pretty nasty kill.
Thought was there. Thought was there.
it was there. It was there. The idea.
Yeah.
But Scarlet, yeah, not having a very fun time in this jungle. It is really this top or this mid jungle, as there's a gank in the mid lane now. Lunar Effect gonna show Yasuo why you don't go up halfway past your lane when you're 0-3. But you know, that's just Yasuo things. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, the jungle and the mid lane are really the central points of this fight here. They're both just super strong, but in terms of bottom lane, it's definitely that Cassio. You're going to want to keep eyes on that as the Ornn is going in for an all-in onto the Kennen here. Kha'Zix is sort of just waiting in the wings. Ornn going to use that steering charge, just sort of had to, as Lunar Effect is now walking up, going to get a little bit of a gank going here, but that isolated W really showing the slows, the 90% slow for 1 second on that isolated W. He upgraded that early, so you know that he means business when he's shooting at the Ws, so.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting what VX decides to kind of focus on. Lunar Effect definitely showing, I wouldn't say his mastery of the jungle, but he's definitely kind of been relevant in both kind of looking for those jungle objectives, but also knowing when to pressure a lane. And like, even ganking, you know, Yon can already solo kill Yasuo, and yet the moment Yasuo stepped up, he was right there ready to kind of punish him and turn around for another kill. So
yeah,
kind of
that being said,
knowing where to go is definitely one thing I think he kind of has that a lot of players in LRS don't quite know, at least from the jungle standard, is kind of knowing how often to be in a lane versus when to be at objectives.
Yeah, and that being said though, they did end up getting the Dragon VX, so not too rough for them. You usually are fine with just splitting 1-for-1 Drakes when you are a scaling team comp, and that is what PVE are deciding to do, but they are not scaling up in this top lane. They are picking off the Ornn, and that is going to be the Ornn falling down. Lunar Effect just having a bit of a bout there with the Ornn in the jungle, and I didn't think it would progress. I didn't really think about casting it until like we had 3 people just on top of the Ornn. I'm not sure why the Ornn stayed there. If he just assumed maybe I could 1v1 Andy, but you know, Lunar Effect just walking people down now. Gonna get that Yasuo walk down on 2. Flashes out of the turret before the tower shot comes out. Very smart from him, as the Rift Herald is just tearing up this mid lane right now, and PVE is just tearing up this mid lane. They just are not letting go of the reins. Ziggs is going to get that bottom turret now too with the satchel charge.
Yeah, Ziggs is going to make this game a lot harder for VX just because of how fast he can take out those towers. So as much as you kind of might have a good kind of wombo as a team, if you're not watching your side lanes, you're going to lose a tower before you have a chance to kind of respond to him. And if you're constantly sending someone to respond to Ziggs split push, then you're at that numbers disadvantage, and you won't necessarily have that carry that you need for those fights.
Yeah, Ziggs is fine being behind because you know he's really just going to be getting a lot of passive gold from just pushing towers. He really doesn't have a lot of problems with just like clearing waves, just sitting in a side lane, clearing waves, and just staying really relatively safe against pretty much everyone, because he doesn't really have a lot to do until he hits about 2-3 items where he'll really start chunking people with poke. And yeah, the game has really slowed down after that Rift Herald is coming down, but I honestly am expecting that because there really is no objectives on the map, no reason to fight, and unless an Ornn tries to 1v1 someone again, I don't think we'll be seeing any rotations from teams as we just start seeing normal clears come down. Still some camps up for the bot side, but as soon as all camps go down, I am assuming we'll see some jungle presence on a lane somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Lunar Effect has definitely kind of earned his spot. You know, he's sitting here 3-0. But he's also 30 CS up on the Kha'Zix, and a lot of his CS, as we've kind of seen.
The Ornhorn is coming down in the top lane here. Sorry to interrupt you, but that will be Yon getting a little bit picked off here. He will be flipped back, and that'll be 3 people now trying to pick off this shutdown onto the Ornn, but it won't even happen, and the Kenna comes up with the ultimate and a lot of damage, but it doesn't look like they will have the finisher for anyone. K-God is walking up on that bot side here, but the mid lane was not ready to rotate as K-God is looking onto the Singe, going to get flipped back, but Kennan's going to trade a lot of damage. Ziggs is right there, going to be able to pick it up with the auto attack, and yeah, again, just miscalculation. Can of 10 performing extremely clean on this Yon. It seems like he's been practicing quite a bit as a lot of damage. They are going to try and dive this Ornn here, but that is not the champion that you would want to be diving unless you are PVE with 5 members strong sitting up in that top lane, I guess. Yeah, the Ornn just falls relatively quickly, and the satchel charge will take out that top turret. So 3 turrets to 0, but it will be 3 turrets to 1 at this point for the sake of PVE, and things are looking really rough right now over Hummer. I'll be thoroughly honest with you. They're down about 6k VXR, and there's bounties on Lunar Effect, Can of Tin, and Psychonautic. Probably not the people you would want bounties on.
Ziggs has a 150 gold bounty as well, getting those kills at the in that last fight there. So you now have everyone other than Threat sitting on a bounty.
Yasuo is getting caught out in the river here, right as the dragon is about to spawn. Very unfortunate timing, as 3-4 people just collapse onto him, take his life, and now 15 seconds from that next dragon. This looks like it's just PvEs. I don't think that VX has really any answer to this at this point. I don't think they have the skill. I think they need Ornn to be sitting in a side lane right now, and he needs to be getting level 14.
Yeah.
They need Ornn on level 14. They need Cassio to start hitting like her 3rd item power spike, get that Seraph's Embrace up to a get that Archangel's up to a Seraph's Embrace.
Yeah, I don't think VX can really look for anything until they kind of hit that mid to late game power spike. At this point, they kind of should just be turtling to try to just stall out as much as possible.
Flash hook from K-God, but it will be cleansed out.
So
sorry, keep going.
They're looking a little, almost like they're trying to play semi-aggressive to kind of make plays happen, but they just don't have the strength to pursue it, whereas PvE can basically sit there and play as aggressive as they want, completely controlling the tempo of their own, objective push, so to speak. But if VX can kind of turtle and kind of stall until that Orin gets that level 14, Cassiopeia getting her power spikes, just straight levels even, they're all kind of down on levels. So if they can kind of build up those levels to kind of come back to where PvE is sitting at, then they could have a chance as the game goes on, but for the most part, based on how they've been playing so far, it doesn't look like they're gonna kind of hold out versus PvE.
Yeah, and I think the roughest part about this whole thing is just what you were saying about just who has priority in these sort of control fights in the mid and top side of the jungle. It's going to be PvE who has basically all of the automation in this time frame. These next few minutes will definitely just be PvE centered, unless VX can get some sort of pick. But PvE is just standing strong. I know Directicam has been saying on PvE for a while now, and they've all just been sort of just chilling. And they will get the charge for the Rift Herald in that mid lane. The Satchel Charge will take out the mid lane, as they are looking for a little bit of an engage. The Orinhorn did go pretty wide, as the Yona ulti will come down, and that is a giant wombo combo. Ziggs ulti just takes out 2 people. Kennen ulti takes out another. Volibear is going to clean up someone, and now Cassio is trying to walk away. The cleanse is not there for the hook this time, and the Cassio will go down, and that is a clean ace for the side of PvE, and I think that might be game 1 going to PvE. A very clean game, very well executed team fight in that base there, and yep, it looks like that'll be the game. Very quick, fast-paced gameplay, 20 minutes on the clock. PvE statement game, if I say anything. That Satchel Charge miss is definitely not a statement Satchel Charge, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, how to break down that last fight? It's kind of one hook lands, and they were just dead.
It was exactly what you were saying in draft. With they were able to just sort of pile on ultis. It was a very clean wombo combo. Yone got like 3 ultis, or 3 people in his ulti. You got the Kennen ulti down on pretty much 5 people, and then you had just Babus throwing his giant bomb.
The center of that bomb collectively landing on at least the 3 that Yone had ulted and gathered together. So they definitely kind of showed where their strategy had come in. They managed to pull it off for the first time in this game, and what thought was going to be a decent kind of fight as a 5v5 turned into a one-sided HP melt.
Yes, very quickly. The Orinhorn was not good enough for the engage, so they were like, you know what, we'll do it for you, and they just engaged for them, and they just went in, did their business, and now VX sitting with an open Nexus, still in this game, surprisingly. I won't be surprised rather to see PvE probably just go for like a Baron in the next few minutes. They are just clearing out vision up on that top side, so things should be progressing towards that Baron, as Kennen is looking to be caught down on this bot side. Here we got the Scrying Bloom as the Orinhorn comes down. Psychonautic will just try and walk away though, and it looks like he will be able to make it out as the Baron is started up, and it looks like VX is just getting sort of tangoed around the map at the moment here. They're just chasing a Kennen for no real reason, and they're just giving away a free Baron. I mean, Scarlet 1
they don't have vision. You do see a pink ward and a tri-bush, but other than that one pink ward, they have no topside vision at all. They have a couple wards down in bot side.
Now Scarlet gonna get the face check from Psychonautic, but Psychonautic is gonna pop the ulti in return, gonna get a lot of damage on return, and the E picks up Scarlet 1, not even able to get that isolated Q at the end there. Singed is being walked down now, and that it will be the Singed probably going down to. The flip was not the way you needed it, but he will pop the Righteous Glory and will walk away. So the Singed will make it out, but that'll be a free dragon to PvE. They are taking it very slowly, but you can't blame them for being cautious. I mean, you can just walk into the base at this point, but what's the fun in that when you can't walk into the base at Mach speeds after popping your ult?
Exactly, and with their comp they have too, a Cloud Dragon is gonna make it a lot harder because now they pull off their wombo combo, and if you do manage to somehow survive, they will just run you down. So
Yeah, it's really rough for VX at this point. I'm not gonna say it's curtains, but it's definitely looking like the blinders are going down.
Almost
if
a
anything
10K gold
happens.
deficit. Yeah, it's gonna be fairly difficult for them to pull something else out. They had a decent, you have the Ornn Yasuo, but Ornn not having his power spike at level 14 yet. Even if he gets a 5-man knockup, Yasuo doesn't have the items he needs to be able to kind of do anything to that backline. So
Yeah, I didn't even notice he wasn't even 14 yet. That's really rough, and especially with Yasuo not even having Infinity Edge, things just are so like. It just feels so bad to be VX at this point.
yeah, you're just missing
As,
all the damage.
The Ornn Horn actually coming down. Vapus gets flipped into the middle of the team here. Is probably going to be going down, and this looks like a good fight for VX now. As a Kennen ulti giant coming into the middle of so many people, but Tin with a 4-man Yone ulti just gonna clean up the entire VX lineup here, as they are gonna chase down Scarlet 1 for that last kill, but it will not be the case, as they're just gonna walk down their base, and that will be game 1 going to PVE here. What looked very optimal fight for VX became really wrong when you don't have the gold, you don't have the items, you don't even have Infinity Edge on Yasuo. Things would have been so much better if you like had a power spike, but obviously that was just a rough game to be VX. But I'm not gonna say that they're out of it completely.
No, they did kind of have good setups. Aqua Anthony on that Ornn Horn definitely had some pretty good looking for those knockups. But there was just not really a team to follow up. They were kind of all just sitting too far behind. So I don't know what they're gonna talk about going into game 2, but they definitely need to switch something up because whatever thought was gonna work this game definitely didn't work for them.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate because they have to have a sub. The sub did actually perform incredibly well, though. The Casio player, it was the sub for the team of VX, and actually performed quite well for the team. It was just more so the rest of the team that sort of fell behind extremely early and couldn't really bring back even into a 2-item power spikes. The Casio, though, had 3 items at the end of the game, so props to her for doing quite a bit of damage as well for about 9,000 in that game. It was a very short game, and you can definitely see that on the damage graphs.
Yeah.
Not a lot of high pop-off material for the damage charts, but with that being said, I think we are ready to send it over to the analyst desk. Alrighty, so we will be sending it over to them, and we will be back for game 2. Thank you guys so much, and see you soon.
Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to the analyst desk. And what a dominating game here by PVE. Holy crap. They came in swinging, and all I was seeing was, that's the mentality of they used to be the Sharks. This is pretty much the same squad coming through again. These guys have played with each other. They have that synergy, and we see it in the form of that 5-man death ball that was roaming around. And anybody who really got in the way of it became mush very, very quickly after. So, good stuff by PVE. Looking to maybe come back. I do like the ideas that VX brought into this game. A little bit funny. We can laugh at it, the cast and Singe bottom. But, if you have someone there to activate that cast poison, she does become very, very scary. So, in idea, it was really good, but I think it was an overall team difference in this one there. So maybe we'll switch it up. We might see difference here in the picks. Maybe a shift more to a traditional ADC in these next games. I know in our game number 1, the bans were heavily targeted at those top tier those ADCs that we see disappear quite a lot. The Caitlyn, the Ashe, usually not going to make it onto the board very often. We know Vapus does play cast, so it is nice to be able to see that picked up by someone else here. But, you know, I was honestly surprised. Aphelios made it through the draft last game. I know he did receive some recent nerfs. However, we've only seen Vapus Aphelios once or twice before it got banned out. So hopefully we see a little 200 years pop up on the board. Gonna be fun stuff. But guys, just a reminder, I'm gonna set it to go live right now. Make sure to vote on who you think deserves player of the game. It's command, vote, and then whatever position is there. The poll is live right now. You can see that in the chat. But when we get back from our break, we're going to be switching sides, getting into game number 2, as VX looks to come back and tie this series up, hopefully bringing it to game 3. But PVE looking very, very strong after that game number 1. So guys, we'll be right back after this break. Make sure to cast those votes. The poll is live right now, and we will see you very, very soon. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. We are about to get into game number 2. It's PVE currently sitting up 1 win in the series. They only need 1 more to go, and that will conclude it. However, VX, with their full roster now ready to go, their jungler, their main jungler back in the roster, gonna be a little bit of a variation, and we'll see how this impacts game number 2. Before we get into the pick and ban, we have to announce our player of the game. You guys voted at home, and I love seeing all that participation, guys. It's going to be none other than Lunar Effect, going 7-0 and 11 on the volley. I've seen this name up here so many times. This man is incredible in the jungle and makes himself very much known on the map. So congratulations, Lunar Effect, and let's see what game number 2 is going to bring us, because this is a lot on the line here for VX. They need to take these guys down. They will need to see if they can take a chunk out of PvE, but they are looking very, very strong. So, all right, guys. Going to be just a couple of seconds here, but I believe we are good to go. So I'm going to hand it on over to our casters, and they're going to take it away for pick and ban number 2. And just a heads up, the rosters will not be correct, so I will get those corrected on the screen for you guys as the actual full roster of VX is here. So, casters, why don't you take it away for us?
Oh, what a game.
Yep, what a game indeed. Alrighty, everyone. We are back, and draft has already started. So things are looking a little fast here. We got 99 seconds already for PVE on the blue side this game. So we are going to be seeing a little bit of a difference.
I think the players decided to start draft a little early, so they kind of waited it out for us. So thank you to the players for waiting. But
yep, thank you guys for waiting, and we are now hopefully getting into draft in a second here. As just waiting on PvE to start banning, and I do require a spectator link to the draft if I could get one, if anyone has one. And so yeah, like we said, teams pretty standard. We've got the actual full team of VX this game, so it is going to be quite interesting to see the difference between this game from last game. Hopefully there'll be a bit more synergy between the maybe just the picks, or maybe even just the team comps or the team play in general, because the jungler is a pretty central role, and when you have to sub your jungler, it can be kind of awkward sometimes. But good to see that he's back. Hopefully we can get a good 3-game series going here now in the second game. Not going to vote against PvE too quickly, but I'm hoping for us to go all 3. I mean, every time I've casted, we've only gotten 2 games, and I feel like I'm missing out on the true experience, the truest experience that there could be.
That is true. And I mean, we do see similar bans. You know, you do have the Olaf and the Ziggs taken away. So Olaf, same as last game, Ziggs off of Vavis, the very well performance on Ziggs. So VX deciding they don't want to mess around with that. We know, you know, like why give Lunar Effect someone like Olaf if he's already 7-0 on a Volibear? So
Yeah, I mean, the Ziggs ban kind of is questionable because Vapus plays pretty much every ADC and
yeah,
every
that's true.
APC too. It's
He
very
just
hard
plays
to.
everything.
He plays everything. It's very hard to pinpoint what account he's on most of the time. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's very hard to pinpoint what his actual champ pool is from season to
Yeah.
season because it can completely vary from one to another. I know when I saw the Ziggs locked in last game, I was getting flashbacks from like game 2 of season 1 or of last season, but he performed a lot better this time than he did last time, I thought. So
I mean,
I'm not
he
gonna.
does have extra practice, right? You know, last
Yep.
split was how many months ago? So
Ooh, and they let through the Caitlyn. So this is interesting here. PVE probably going to end up locking that in first for Vapus. Caitlyn is just,
Ooh,
like a hyper
so
carry.
strong.
She did get a little bit of a movement speed nerf, but it wasn't too high impact besides maybe just a little bit of damage in the later stages of the game and also just the Zeal items getting nerfed quite a bit because -5 movement speed means that you're not getting as much percentage movement speed off of the Zeal's movement speed item, and she's just going to be a lot slower, a lot easier to catch. I wouldn't be very surprised to see Ashe from VX, and I would probably gonna see a Morgana here too if I had to bet anything VX is going to pick here, it would probably be Morgana right here because if you let PvE get Kate Morgana, it's going to be a rough bottom lane.
You wouldn't be moving at that point. But I also do kind of was gonna make note of it last game, but K God getting his Thresh last game is a big comfort pick for him. So kind of nice to know he's not pulling any of the bans. He can kind of have that freedom to play who he wants.
And it
And
will
so
be that Trundle locked in for VX there in the jungle. And like we were saying, if they didn't lock it in, BV had it right in their hands. Kate Morgana right there in the bottom lane, the most terrifying bottom lane I think any mid to low level player could ever play against. You get hit by one binding, you're dead. It's basically the name
yeah.
of the lane. As
It doesn't have to be a
PvE
binding.
is.
Either you
Oh,
get hit by any form of the CC. You know, you have the Caitlyn net, which slows you. You have the Caitlyn traps, which can turn into a Morgana binding. So, and then post level 6, Morgana also has her ult, so she can just run at you with Mobies. Press alt to slow you into a Caitlyn slow, into a double binding slash Caitlyn trap, and you just don't move.
ooh. So it's the Nidalee locked in for PvE here. Gonna have Andy, Lunar Effect, sitting on that Nidalee. Quite interesting pick here as Nidalee is seeing a lot of high priority in the LPL, but not seeing a lot in the LCS, to be honest. It is seen a little bit, but I don't think it is quite perfected as it is in some of these LPL games that we've seen Italy just sort of run through matches, looking like they got aimbot on them.
Oh, that's gonna be a
Senna.
nasty bot lane. Senna
Yep.
taking Glacial Augment. You have the double move slow.
Ashe Senna, yeah, that can be that can be a lane. That can be a very scary lane. It's gonna be either on PvE to land a binding and get a full burst very quickly, or VX is gonna start chasing them down the lane. So
Yeah, I mean they do
aggressive.
have Morgana shield, so the added slow from the Ashe, and then presumably Glacial Augment Senna. Well, she'll be able to kind of cancel that off one person. So maybe Black Shield the Nidalee as she goes to dive that back line. Or maybe it's whoever your top lane ends up being, so they can kind of just sit there and tank and not be slowed to infinity. So,
Yep, that could be the case as we are looking in bans now. So we have Kennen being banned out for VX here. We've got PvE looking at their first ban. What do you think is gonna be banned? We got like mid laners and top laners basically open on both sides here.
I don't know, just because I'm not too overly familiar with these teams, but they're also not fully all in the same positions now that they're playing with their initial roster compared to with their sub. So, gonna be interesting to see priorities. The Caston taking note is well done for their team because you don't want that hard late scaling AP to be able to start walking all of your team and be able to avoid every binding you play against. So
Yeah, Kassadin would be really rough into this team comp because Morgana binds are really hard to land onto that, and Caitlyn traps are quite
useless, quite useless
useless
to him.
against Kassadin. Yes, and Camille actually going to be banned away as the second ban here for PVE. I'm very interested to see what they are looking at towards this top mid, as Renekton is going to be locked in for VX here. So VX pretty much putting all cards on the table that they're going to win this early game. I don't see a world where Renekton Trundle can make it out of laning phase without winning and expecting to win the lane or expecting to win the game. Because
yeah.
I mean, Renekton's just like a lane bully. Like, you need to win with Renekton. And then
If
Trundle,
if you lose with Renekton, then are you really playing Renekton?
yeah, and Trundle is Trundle until he is Pillar.
Yeah.
And then
But then you have Ashe and Senna to cut. He pillars and then Ashe and so.
yeah, it is true. You do get a lot of value off of Pillar from Ashe and Senna, but just looking on later into the game, you do not want two people who are just Croc and Pillar. It's not a fun time.
True.
And it will be the Maokai locked in to respond to that Renekton, so not going to be allowed to lane bully. Is this Renekton going to be? He is just going to be there attacking a tree with a little slicey dicer, maybe an axe or something. So apparently Yone is going to be last again. Yep, there's the Ivern locked in. It's going to be Yone in that mid lane, so they were lacking that 80 damage. Yone is going to be there to clean it up. And it will be the counter pick now for VX. Maybe they'll take it again. They'll take the one. Oh,
Okay,
there it
okay.
is. There it is. It's the Annie. My girl.
Gonna be
little bear.
To see. I mean, PVE so far has performed as expected, but the team comp they have drafted is they only have one tank. So whereas VX has two, and so you can kind of sit there and not having that much health. Ashe, Annie, they can kind of run you through, and then you have that Senna to both shield her allies and damage enemies at the same time, and not having tanks that can definitely be very hindering in the later stages. Especially when Annie gets those items, gets a good tibbers off in a group fight, and just you don't have the health to out sustain a fight like that. So
yes, it is. It's quite interesting to see the Annie come through. There's a lot of one-dimensional champions on the side of VX here, and they do require a very heavy amount of mid and early game pressure, considering Renekton, considering Trundle, considering what Annie really needs to do to win the game. It's going to be a lot on Trundle to create a very safe space for this Renekton and this Annie to start roaming freely, as they both are quite singular identity-wise. They both really just want to sit there and blow you up with like one rotation of spells, and if they don't do that, they're basically just stuck walking away. And
pretty much, yeah.
Against a team comp like Nidalee, Caitlyn, Morg, you do not want to be stuck walking away.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be on VX to be able to get the power spikes that they need to burst people, because they don't win a sustained fight, unfortunately. It would seem like they do with Ashe, Senna, Trundle. Like, that 3 should give you a fair leeway in a fight, but with Renekton and Annie, you really don't have any sustain at that point. Like, you have a bear and you have a Renekton that's gonna try and hop in with his ultimate and deal damage, but if he's not ahead, he's probably just gonna lose the game.
He's just gonna be a CC bot at that point.
Yeah, he's just going to be useless.
Trying to stun one person, only to get black shielded and not getting an effective stun off, so.
Yeah, so as we are getting into the choose your loadout screen here, 50 seconds on the clock before these gamers hop into game. Make sure you guys are getting your votes out. Vote poll will be up in about 50 seconds or so. Make sure you use the exclamation mark exclamation mark. I was gonna say point and mark at the same time. It came out in March. Yeah, make sure you use the exclamation point and the word vote after it, and give us VX or PVE. Who do you think is going to win? I personally think PVE has a much more well-rounded comp, and they have a lot more room for open scaling, whereas I think it's very shoddy whether you think that VX is going to win the game. They're going to have to get an early lead, and it will be on them to start the action.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. You know, VX does have a fairly well, kind of team fight oriented comp, but with their picks, they do need that early game kind of lead. But we can't, if they, even if they get that lead, if they make one or two mistakes and kind of throw away that early lead they pick up, it's the late game leads that are a lot more important. So even if you get those early game leads on a couple champions, the team comp that PVE has, plus based on if you add in how they've performed so far, especially Can of Tim at Young game, they might, even if they get down in the early stages, all they really need is one good team fight, and next thing you know, you're going to be losing tower after tower, and then you won't have those dragons, and you'll lose all that early game pressure that you had. So
Yep. So we are just waiting on spectator delay now. Make sure you guys get your votes in. I personally vote for PVE. I think Overcomer believes in that too, if I'm not mistaken.
I do, yes. I believe, unless I think the only win condition VX has is getting that early game lead and kind of closing the game out in a fairly quick sense. And he does get fairly strong late game, and being against a team of all squishies, Morgana can only black shield one person. So Annie can basically sit there and almost one-shot most members of PvE. But if she doesn't get that early game lead to kind of snowball to that point, she won't really be able to 1v5 kind of carry this team if Renekton and Trundle can't get ahead.
Yep. And looking at individual lanes here, I'm looking at it as it's going to be a pretty rough time for most of PvE. In the solo lanes, you got range disadvantages, you got champion just like identities being completely messed up for the side of VX compared to PvE. It's like Renekton really does not want to be on top of Maokai, but Maokai really does not want to be on top of Renekton. So it should be pretty slow in that lane regard. Jungle's going to be back and forth pretty quickly. Trundle and Nidalee can both get that early lead. It'll just be on who can, solidify that lead and who can take it and run with it, really. As this game should be interesting. It should be a lot more back and forth, hopefully, than the first game.
Hopefully.
Where things sort of fell after a very over-aggressive early fight that VX did not need to take. And it looks like you guys think that PvE is going to win this game with about 75% of the votes, and very well calculated from the chat there. I can commend them on that one, not because I favor PvE in any way, just because the comps, it's very clear to see which one has a clearer identity going into later in the game. There's a win condition in both teams, but both teams have very scattered win conditions. Whereas I feel like I think
they're scattered, but I would say PvE has more of a concrete set win condition where basically as long as they don't make mistakes, they should be able to outscale these.
Yep. And we are getting into game now. Pausing at 5 seconds is the broadcaster as well as the casters themselves.
Yeah, I'm at 5, ready when you guys are.
And we are all ready here as we will get the countdown into the go. And here we are. So, Looking at ruins here, we've got the Grasp of the Undying up in the top lane there for Maokai. Very standard. Conquer, actually, on the Nidalee. Usually you see something more like a Electrocute, but I guess he wants more of a sustained battle. Maybe we'll be going for that Rod of Ages build that has been popping its head out in some solo queue games, some LEC or LCS games too. As a little bit of a cheeky invade looking for this Trundle here, but is going to be face checking a Yone. But Yone's going to take a lot of damage up front as the Morgana Bind will take a lot of damage onto that Trundle, and it will be First Bloods traded on the Yone and the Trundle respectively, as the Renekton is now trying to be walked down by the side of PVE. The Bind will go wide, and the W from Maokai though will try and lock him down. The auto attacks will come down, and Psychonautic will clean up a kill. So 1 kill for Lunar Effect, 1 kill for Psychonautic. Very good for PvE, as they are the team that scales harder, and just a very scrappy level 1 that they did not expect. I bet they just really wanted to go in, get like a deep ward on their blue buff, and walk out. But against a Morgana, you can't really walk into their jungle at level 1. Otherwise, you're gonna get a really rough awakening.
Yeah, and it was very tight, but Lunar Effect managing to pull out that first blood as well. So not only do they have a 2-1 early start, they also get that extra 100 gold bonus from the first blood, compared to their Renekton only getting that 300 gold off getting a kill. So.
Oh yeah, and looking at mid lane, we're just seeing directed cam show us all that poke as the Morgana Bind in bottom lane, but Vapus is taking a massive amount of damage. Gonna have to pop that heal really early. And Scarlet and Happy Game really showing why they should have been the bottom lane game 1-2, but now we get to see them in full form, see what they're made of, see their stuff. As it is an interesting lane to see them up against as the first time on stream. Kayla Morgana is just a very oppressive lane, so seeing how they deal with it will really show us how well they are as a bottom lane, how good they are together, and how effective they can be. And from this poke, it seems like they can be quite effective. I mean, Vavis and K-God really having a hard time in this bottom lane at level 1.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a very oppressive lane, but something like Ashe Senna is also just as oppressive. You know, you have the not only do you have the double move slow, but Senna does over time as well scale with that range to kind of keep up, so Caitlyn doesn't really get her attack damage range by the late game stages of this. So, and then being able to bounce that Q off your allied minions, enemy minions, basically anything that Senna can get her hands on, really gives her that extra little advantage in kind of helping to poke stuff out while staying at a safe distance.
Yep, and now looking at bottom lane here, we see K-God getting traded on quite heavily, as Annie is getting a big burst in the bottom lane. Trundle was looking for something a little bit spoopy, but they didn't bother going for it, and K-God really nice with these binds right now. Has like a 90% hit rate, as a big fight going down in the mid lane here. Trundle is here. A TP is going to come down from the Renekton though, and now Yone is going to go down. Lunar Effect is going to get chased down to Renekton, will come in and pick up that kill, and that'll be double buffs secured for the Renekton, so not what you would want to see if you are PvE right now.
Yeah, definitely a little unfortunate losing 2 members there. And kind of as we were saying, you know, those little leads you have, it's all about who runs away with them. You can't just go, oh, we have a lead, now we're going to win the game. You have to be able to kind of maintain that lead and push it, because these early leads are never initially that large, and that 2-1 lead PVE had turned into a 2-3 deficit for them. So.
Yeah, and that was just on side of an over-aggressive gank in the mid lane. Trundle was just waiting in the wings, and that's a statement to see, especially considering the last game how unavailable it seemed that Scarlet 1 was in the mid lane, whereas it seems that I Can't Breathe really has a lot more options, and sort of knows exactly when he has to be in the mid lane to counter gank and when he has to be in the bottom lane to sort of look for something, apply pressure, and he's doing a really good job right now of maintaining a early game that's very favorable for VX, and this is what we were saying that's going to happen earlier in the game, but it is just very good to see that Trundle actually is pulling through with his task, which is the win con for a large majority of this game.
Yeah, and as well seeing the Renekton kind of not dominate, but being able to pick up that additional kill. He's sitting on a CS lead as well as the additional kills. So, and his death he didn't lose any XP off that death, being that it was before the minion waves had spawned. So he's definitely sitting more of a stronger standpoint in this early stage versus the Maokai.
Yep, and we're looking mid lane now. Ken getting quite poked out here from the Annie, but things aren't looking too rough, and it will actually be the Bilgewater Cutlass into the Blade of the Ruined King for Renekton here up in the top lane against the Maokai, which is very smart. It will allow you to get a lot more damage onto the Maokai, but against the rest of the team comp, it seems kind of like an interesting choice, as the Lunar Effect is looking in the bottom lane to try and get a gank, but that spear will go wide, and that means no gank to be had. Probably we'll just look for some dragon control or something of these sorts. Yes, we'll spot that ward, and we'll get a little bit of control, as Maokai is getting a trade up in the top lane here as a very big wave, but Renekton's just going to clear that whole wave and start walking him down up in the top lane. He's going to get the Q off, and it's just going to be trades of auto attacks here as the stun will come down. Renekton getting quite a lot of damage down, but the exhaust comes down onto the Annie here in the mid lane, but Yone is not able to get the kill, and now Trundle is here going to pick up the kill, and that is just really unfortunate. Trundle just seems to be here every time that Kenneth even tries to breathe onto this Annie.
Definitely not something you want to set up, or kind of go into there. And checking Fog of War, and the Yone did not have any vision going into that. So he would have had no idea that the Trundle was floating around mid lane at the time when he tried to go in for that dive.
Yeah, no, it's just unfortunate. No communication going through about where Trundle was at that moment obviously led to Can misrepresenting his damage, and that will cause the first dragon to go down for VX. So a bit stronger of a start from this game compared to the last one. They've got a bit of an advantage in terms of gold. They got about a 1k gold lead, and are sitting pretty in this top side. 150 gold bounties on both the jungle and the top laner, and that's not to discredit the mid lane advantage too. The mid laner obviously has about 400 gold lead from the amount of assists that she is able to get. It's unfortunate that she's unable to get any of those kills, but obviously when you got a Renekton and a Trundle that both have them, you aren't really too sad about them getting those kills.
Yeah, you're not really missing out, you know, and getting those assists kind of does help, because it's small advantages, but when you're against someone like a Yone who doesn't have any kills at all, you're definitely increasing that. Not only increasing your gold from the assist, but you also, the more he dies, the more you can CS for real.
As Yone is getting a little bit of a fight in the mid lane here. Flash from Morgana, but Lunar Effect is here. Is just chilling, as looks like there was a little bit of an invade on that jungle, and now Lunar Effect is caught out to his side of the jungle, and now is trying to run away, but that is 3 people just gonna squish that little cat.
Yeah, and kind of as we were saying before, you know, like, they might have high damage champions, but they don't have the health. So when you mix that with the amount of CC that VX, you know, you have 2 slows bot lane as well as a root and a stun coming out just from the bot lane. You have a very low cooldown stun coming out from Annie. You have the pillar, which is the slow and the slight knockup if you get it in the center, coming from the Trundle pillar, as well as the dash into a stun from the Renekton. So very hard to run away from that team. So if you do happen to get caught out, you, PVE just can't sustain because they don't have the health bars to kind of tank any of that CC.
And we did see, as you were saying there, the Ashe ult went down, and the flesh was having to be burnt by by Vapus there, as Lunar Effect is in this bottom lane now, looking for a bit of a gank. Gonna try and go onto the Senna here. A lot of damage coming down, and Vapus is gonna pick up the first kill. Is gonna pop the flash of Scarlet though, and Scarlet will be able to walk away. So a good pickup there. PVE actually looking like a little bit of a sign of life here, but Trundle is now in the bottom lane ready to answer this Nidalee. Gonna have the pillar down, and looks like the Nidalee is going to not make it out, but it will The flash out will cause some safety, as well as the TP for Maokai is the flash in for Maokai, and they are going to be able to pick up that kill. And Scarlet 1 caught walking a little too far there. The Maokai with the home guard boots plus the TP plus, I don't know if he doesn't have Nimbus cloak. It's a Maokai, but yeah, he came in really fast. He zoomed in. He secured the kill, and that was Maokai duty if I've ever seen it.
Pretty much, yeah. You know, he has the kill right now, which he picked up in that early level 1 skirmish. But the later this game goes on, he's kind of gonna turn into that high tank and CC bot, which becomes very oppressive when you have a team like Caitlyn, Morgana, and even a Nidalee, and then with the Yone as well to kind of extend that root duration.
This game is incredibly impressive right now. I mean, both teams are displaying an extremely high level of macro. Like, this is a lot higher than I usually see levels of macro in Legends games, but obviously not to discredit any other Legends teams saying that they're worse or anything, but this is extremely well choreographed right now. If you're looking at the map, you're looking at all the pings that are going down, all the communication that both these teams are doing at a moment's notice. Things are moving quickly, clocks are turning, and things are getting escalated here as the mid lane is getting quite chunked down. I'm sure if he threw down that ulti and the ignite, that might have killed, but I also am not too sure about Lost Chapter Annie's damage levels.
Yeah, I mean, even at the level...
Psychonaut is here in the mid lane though, Maokai. Oh, but the insta-burst onto Lunar Effect, they are unable to get the kill. Now Yone is trying to get something back for himself, is going to be able to pick up 1 kill, but Psychonautic is going to have to pick up that kill, and it looks like Renekton is here now, and now the Senna is here to play as well, and things are a little rough for PVE at this point. They went for something quite flashy there, and then Lunar Effect just sort of got insta-popped by the Annie. The turn from her really just caused the blow-up to happen. Now there's a little bit of a pick onto Senna, but the flash should get her out of the way. So 2-1 for VX, and it looks like they are going to get the Rift Hell charge down onto mid lane. Not going to get the tower, but going to get some plates for themselves. Always going to be nice to have that. As the Trundle is now down here in bottom lane, you have to K-God pop his ulti in the middle of 3, but unfortunately not able to have that go down as the spears are coming through now for Lunar Effect. Is he going to be able to jump in here? Does not look like it. The ulti will come down though, however, and so much damage as the poke is just insane from Lunar Effect as another spear goes out but not going to be able to land. They are going to go into the Trundle, however, and trying to clean him up, but Vapus is going to snipe out that kill with the Q on the back line. But now here's Annie. Annie has no ultimate though, unable to do all the damage possible, but is he going to be able to get 1 kill though is the question, as Senna is chasing down Vapus on the top side, but she's not going to be able to get the kill. Lunar Effect is going to string them along, little spaghetti there for you, as Renekton is now in this bottom lane looking to clean up some kills, but Morgana is here to defend. It's going to be sort of like the ringleader here. Is Morgana going to be able to make out all the lions before they start getting hunted by this Renekton, this poacher Renekton? As a crazy fight in this bottom lane, completely back and forth. I'm surprised Vapus ended up going down there to the Senna, and Lunar Effect and Psychonautic making it out of that with like 0 HP was actually insane.
I'm not too sure why Vapus was still positioned that far up. You know, looking at their wards, they definitely would have seen their Renekton kind of coming down as well. But being positioned that far by himself, you know, Caitlyn doesn't really have a range advantage when it comes to Senna, because Senna can Q off of pretty much anything. She only has to put down a ward, and if you're at 1 HP, you will die to that, and she doesn't even need enemies around to do it. So
yeah,
a little bit of
the range
on their side, I think.
Yeah, the range was a bad, was unfortunate, but that will be the dragon, the second dragon going down for PVE here. So trading 1 for 1 on dragons now. I think it sort of slightly benefits the side of VX for having that Mountain Drake, especially with all these champions where you're saying they are going to scale into sort of these tankier, bigger champions. While PvE does have the damage to deal with it, it will be a lot easier for them to scale with those armor and MR items. As we are getting these sold now, it will be Cloud Soul. So 2 Cloud Souls this series so far. Hopefully if we do get a game 3, it will not be Cloud Soul for the third one, but either way, things are looking quite interesting at this point. It is quite back and forth. The gold lead is up for VX here, about 1k up, but that is not to put PVE out of the game. It seems like they still have quite a bit of a grasp. Psychonautic here with quite a huge bounty. The top laners both celebrating their gold, as Yone going for a little bit of an ulti in the bottom lane. But bottom lane here, Ashe getting ignited, going to be quite low. Not going to end up going down. Senna's going to block that Caitlyn ulti, and both bottom lanes getting quite low as this Caitlyn is just ripping. Has her Infinity Edge now and is starting to just become a tear on this bottom lane. Yeah,
Definitely kind of a big threat, you know. When a Caitlyn gets to start with an Infinity Edge, Razor, the amount of damage that she puts out.
Oh, but that Ashe arrow from base gonna keep Vapus locked down and gonna have him fall down as K-God is gonna get picked up too. That Ashe arrow, the God play from down the lane, going to pick up Vapus and going to pick up K-God too. On the back of that is Yone is getting dived in the mid lane here, not going to get the shield from that W, as Annie is going to not get the kill. Renekton will get the kill as a solo kill, and now Maokai is going down too. Renekton is going to pick up that kill, and Renekton is sitting strong. 6-1 at this point. He is quite far ahead, and that is really rough for PVE at this point. That was they had grasp on this game up until I think that moment.
Yeah, I mean, VX is definitely kind of pulling out the exact win kind of we're talking about, where you have Renekton and Trundle sitting at 6-1 and 5-2. So they got their early leads they needed so that they could look for that snowball. And now at this point, we've kind of seen these team fights, how they've kind of played out, and it's kind of just been repeat after repeat of kind of, you know, you get those two heavy tanks either dealing high CC or high damage by, you know, Annie, Ashe, and Senna, who basically just outdeal the damage, because when you're sitting on a team of all squishies, it doesn't matter how much damage you have to burn through health bars if you don't have the health bars to last in a team fight.
And things are starting to slow down just a tiny bit. We have the Rift Herald being taken by the Renekton up in top lane here, and Lunar Effect getting a little bit of judgment in his jungle here for his red buff, but nothing too bad, as the Annie will get locked up. Hopefully Vapus can get trapped down, but it does not look like that is the case, as Renekton now going to put down that Rift Herald up in top lane, going to secure that tower up in the top, as a little bit of damage trying to come down from the Maokai, but when the Renekton is that far ahead, you really can't do much about it, and he's just going to take your tower. There's a lot of damage being traded down onto the Maokai, though, as he is going to pop the ulti now. The Bramble Vest, is it going to be able to do enough trade? No, the Blade of the Ruin King looks like it is going to just shred his health bar. Psychonautic trying to walk his way out of here, but it does not look like the case, as the R will burn him down, and that is a solo kill for this Renekton. This Renekton is absolutely massive as the Senna ulti comes down in the bottom lane. K-God trying to go down as the Q from Trundle misses. It does not look like they're going to be able to pick up that kill. A very unfortunate flash Q from I Can't Breathe, not able to pick up the kill, and the ultimate 2 being burnt. So a lot of stuff in that bottom lane being burnt. However, it is just a lot of pressure in that bottom lane, which is what you need at this point, considering every other lane is pretty much destined at this point to be in their favor. So they are going to clean up this last tower, this last outer tower, and now things are looking extremely rough for PvE. Not as quick as the last game was in terms of pacing, but at the exact same time, it seems almost just as dominant. VX has been putting quite a show on. They've given up maybe a few free kills, but at the exact same time, this Renekton past the level 1 death has not died once and is playing extremely well.
Yeah, they're definitely kind of showing what happens when you play with your main roster compared to playing with subs. But just in general, I think they've kind of shown, you know, they have the skill to draft a team with a specific win con and then play off that win con. No, I know there are usually a lot of teams where they'll draft a team, even with a win con in mind or not, but the ability to pull off playing to your win con I don't want to say to perfection, because not every teams will still have opportunities for mistakes, at any given moment. But being able to kind of know your win con from your draft and be able to play perfectly along your win con, getting that Renekton, getting that Trundle ahead, and then not really falling too far behind in your other lanes to allow yourself to get to that late game point. You can kind of hold on to your lead in a solid spot, and then at this point, I think VX can kind of sit back and kind of, as much as they pull the trigger, they can kind of wait for PVE to kind of pull that trigger. Because
what an unfortunate flash from Lunar Effect there, ending up flashing into the Ashe ultimate there, and Renekton is now just trying to walk him down. Is he going to be able to get the kill though? No, there's just so much disengage from the side of PVE. They are going to get the root onto Senna though. The Yone ulti will come down. A lot of damage now being traded onto that Senna, but the Yone is just going to get absolutely melted by this Renekton, and the Annie's going to pick up K-God on the back line. Now the Maokai is being walked away, or walked down, is going to get stunned up by the Annie, and is going to be the kill. And that is 3 kills now for VX, and that is probably going to be the Baron, unless Lunar Effect can do some miracle steals. We've seen him do these, but at the same time, it does look pretty insurmountable at this point. It looks like VX are going to put a pretty hard seal onto the second half of this game, and probably lock up this game as theirs once they secure this Baron.
Yeah, I mean, a little unfortunate. I'm not too sure what PVE's kind of I don't know where their focus has been on this game. This kind of last, I'd say maybe like 5-6 minutes, has looked a lot more of them kind of running around. They're playing a lot more in response to VX at this point, whereas last game they had control of the tempo. I don't know if that maybe is affecting their gameplay, but like what started from a very close game has kind of turned into mistake after mistake, and a series of unfortunate events. So
yeah, speaking on that series of unfortunate events here, we have the Phantom Dancer plus Hex Drinker, which do not stack for everyone in solo queue. Those items do not stack, so you should not be building them together. I'm interested in the reasoning why he would go both Phantom Dancer and the Hex Drinker. I understand you need the the MR, but at the same time you could also have gone something like a Wit's End at this point. But nonetheless, I'm not going to question people who are higher ranks than me building items.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I can say I've done it, and I know my thought process when I built it was based on the wording, although they don't stack. I did it because the proc wise, I believe on the Hex Drinker it procs off magic damage, whereas off the Phantom Dancer it just procs off your health bar dropping. So depending, magic damage being able to scale so high so fast, technically I think it seems reasonable.
Yone getting caught out in the mid lane here, going to get traded onto and absolutely blown up by that Annie Bear. Completely unfortunate. The Renekton is now here, and it's going to be 5-man strong, sieging onto this top lane here, and they've got the range. Like you said, they have the Senna Ashe. They can poke out PVE, and it just looks like curtains for them at this point. It does not look like they can do anything. The Morgana binding hits the Annie, but at that point you can't really dive into them, and Psychonautic walks away with barely 10 HP as
yeah,
they are just walking into the base now.
I'm not 100% sure about K-God on although Morgana is a very strong pick for their team. Don't know if he's quite as comfortable. His Black Shield timing seems to have been a bit put off. Usually, from what I've seen so far in this game, is he plays the Black Shield the instant the CC hits them, which usually means that the CC is applied first because of the timing that it's been. Whereas if he had that kind of half second earlier, a lot of these plays wouldn't look so one-sided because that CC would be negated more efficiently. So it could be possible that K-God's not quite as comfortable on Morgana compared to something like his Thresh, but definitely holds room for improvement as the split kind of slowly progresses on forward.
Renekton looking a little thirsty there, looking on that Yone. But it will be just VX playing very safe, going towards that dragon now, going to hopefully secure the third one for themselves, and just, you know, keep playing smart and safe and slow so that they can secure this victory without throwing too much or making it seem like they have a weak point in the late game. As they are looking for a bit of a dive now on Psychonautic. They got like a little bit of a hex over him, but it looks like he will just be able to walk away. Maokai's got quite a bit of self-peel, so it will just be the outer tower, the final outer tower for PVE going down here. And it looks like VX is just going to be walking in to that bottom tier, going to try and siege it down. Going to poke out a little bit and hopefully be able to pick up this siege, or this inner tower before things divulge into chaos.
Yeah, and I mean, we're definitely kind of seeing, you know, VX having faced a loss in that first game, definitely kind of putting all the cards on the table and saying we're not ready to give up yet. And they've done an exceptional job performing so far in keeping this series alive tonight. So.
Yeah, they're definitely putting on an extremely good performance. I mean, their macro has been extremely well choreographed, and their proficiency in their rotations has been very nice to see. I mean, you don't necessarily expect to see this from a team without a brand or anything, just coming into a split, seeming like they're a team for fun, but at the same time, they're really putting a name down, as Vapus is getting blown up, but K-God's going to get flashed on by the Annie, and insta blown up, and that'll be the kill, as Maokai is getting walked down now, going to go down from the Trundle, and now they are just walking down into the base. The Annie's going to stun up, but that is actually Annie going down. The shutdown is very big here, and that is going to be Senna going down too. A lot of shutdowns actually going down at this point. Lunar Effect trying to kite out this Trundle here, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, as the Renekton is showing up now. Going to slice and dice his way up into him and just sort of rip him apart, as now Vapus is getting chased down by the Renekton. Doesn't have his flash after having to burn it before, and that'll be the kill. Now that final eyes on the Yone, and the Yone goes down, and now K-God is alone with the Maokai up in 5 seconds to try and defend their base, but it does not look like it'll be the case, as looks pretty curtains for them in this game, as they're
I don't know what
to
2
the
CC
first
bots
tower.
can do. Yeah, it's unfortunate to have your 2 CC champions as the only, because CC can't hold off a siege. You need the damage for the wave player, so.
Yep, and that'll be game number 2. Going to VX most likely, unless Lunar Effect can make some miracle here. He will get the Renekton down. The Trundle should be the next focus, as the Ashe is now getting traded on to by Lunar Effect. And it will be a double kill for Lunar Effect, and it looks like they actually stopped them. They stopped them on the Nexus, but will the minions be able to end the game? That is the question now, as Maokai is taking up a large sum of minions, but the AoE looks like it will be enough. But they have a mountain to climb if they have ever. PVE right now, sitting with a 500 health, the Nexus. Are they going to be able to hold on to this game? Who knows at this point? Things are looking quite big for Lunar Effect, though, as he just picked up 2 giant kills for himself, and he is looking quite good still, as he's 7-4 and 5, and a large sum of kill participation.
His Rod of Ages is at 9 stacks right now, so definitely that item kind of coming to completion is going to help him out quite a bit. But
yep, definitely scaling hard, as there's a Yone ultimate coming down. The Annie is being traded onto, but the Renekton is just there to answer, and that will be a double kill for Annie, able to pick up two picks with the Yone and the Morgana, and now they should be looking towards this Baron, but Lunar Effect is on the prowl, so I think they might just dip out. And
I mean, you have a numbers advantage, 2 people down.
Walk up to their base, I guess, if that's what they're going to allow them to do. It looks like VX is just going to win this game off of Renekton walking into their base.
Yeah, I mean, at that point when you have numbers advantage, you're sitting at a v3. So you have nothing to fear, even if you're facing someone with a high damage count like PVE had at the end there. Your numbers plus your health bars, you basically don't have anything to fear if you have your whole team just kind of run at the Nexus. The Nexus sitting would, even with the regen, still sitting at under a quarter HP. Definitely doesn't take very long. at that point in the game to kind of clear through the remaining HP, even if you're taking damage in the process.
Yeah, and looking at damage charts here, it's actually really surprising to see that Maokai actually topped the damage charts for PvE. He was very involved in a lot of team fights. He was 3-0 at one point. He was very strong. He performed extremely well in the early game. Unfortunately, he was unable to hold his lead and more so the advantage for the side of PvE, and they just sort of fell behind after a few unfortunate mistimed ganks and fights that really snowballed the early game, where Necton was able to sort of just take control from there, and the Annie was able to blow up people, like you said, was able to hit that 2-3 item power spike and eventually just take over the game.
Yeah, so definitely both teams going to be having a bit to talk about. PvE kind of dominating that first game, but again, they were also playing against VX with subs, and now that VX was at their full roster, they kind of showed that they're not worth. You can't get overconfident versus their team. They are just as strong, have very well macro, and they seems to be very good communication. Even knowing like they started that game at a 2v1 at a 2-1 deficit, and they turned it around and said, "Nope, we're the stronger team, and we're not going to let you guys get a lead." So
Yep. So with the end of that game, it looks like we will be heading it over to the caster desk for Gurf to break it down for us. Yeah, so thank you guys very much. We'll see you back for the third and conclusive game in this oh so rousing series.
All right, welcome back to the analyst desk, guys, and it's going to be a victory for VX in game number 2, taking it to our actual third game here on our stream for the LRS Premade night. So very exciting stuff to get to see these two teams duke it out in one more game. But no, it was really great stuff coming out of VX. I really like the combination between the jungler and the top laner, between Awk Anthony and I Can't Breathe. Super great stuff. The pillar combination there with the Fed Renekton. It was essentially, who would you like to have served up on a silver platter? We saw just one example of it right there at the end on poor Vapus got the pillar, and then the Renekton went diving in. But a few times that was really, really well used. Super Frankly coming through with some great CC there. And even though we saw PvE trying to claw their way back into this one, that Renekton became a bit of an issue. So we might see PvE maybe flex something a little bit more tanky when it comes to their support in jungler. If VX is going to be bringing out those big AD bruisers. Really good stuff from VX, though, as we are going to take a short break before getting into game number 3, guys. Make sure to be voting for who you think deserves player of the game. That poll is going live right now, and you'll be able to see it during the break as well, too. But all it is !vote, and then the position of the player you want to vote for after. But no, awesome stuff, because it will be a lot on the line here. Well, not a lot on the line, but it is spicy to see a game 3, and I'm very much looking forward to it. PvE coming in with a strong game number 1, but that's VX coming and turning it around. They have their full roster now, and they're looking hella strong. So we'll see what PvE is going to do about this situation now that VX is to their full strength. So guys, make sure to vote on the poll there as well. Make sure to go and check out our merch. We have our brand new merch line up and available for you guys. Just a heads up that jerseys are still on the way, so keep an eye out for announcements on that. And shipping may be a little bit delayed just due to our current COVID situation. However, we thank you for your patience. We thank you for all your support and hanging out and participating in those polls. Guys, we are going to take a break now, but just a heads up, we're only 2 followers away from hitting 300. Holy crap. Crazy stuff, guys. I will see you after the break, and make sure to get those votes in, as I will see you in 5 minutes.
much for sending it back to us as always. We are ready for the draft and we are ready for Game 3 Overcomer. Are you ready for Game 3? Because I know I am.
I want to see what these teams pull out. These teams went in at a one, both sitting at 1-1 going into this series, and now they're sitting at 1-1 against each other. So definitely gonna hope to see these all-out action, the same type of action that you'd see in a Game 5 situation in a playoffs match. If whatever team wants that leaderboard spot more is what we're going to see them fight for tonight. So.
And I feel like this is sort of a flip side of what happened last game, where we saw VX really needed to find something to answer PVE with their full roster. And now that they have their full roster, PVE is now in the position where they have to find something to handle VX in their full roster. Because it feels like VX had a lot of good, interesting ideas, but now we're seeing it all sort of come together with their jungler being extremely highly relevant in that game, and their mid laner too putting on a high damage chart. So PvE's got to find a way to answer the onslaught that VX has currently going for them.
Yeah, and so coming into bans, we do see the Olaf taken out in every single game. Not VX not allowing Lunar Effect to get that comfort pick, and we do see PVE take out the Trundle, as Trundle was very relevant that whole game, and so definitely doesn't want to have to play against that again.
Yep, makes a lot of sense to ban that right off of their jungler. I Can't Breathe. He did a really good job of making the enemy team not breathe last game. So yeah, gonna get that out of the way. Same with the Renekton ban. Obviously, PvE with a bunch of reactive bans. Actually, very surprising. They're taking off stuff that VX played last game. They aren't taking off stuff that maybe they know VX has in the crate. They're taking off the stuff that they're well practiced on and already starting a verse on.
Yeah, and I mean, it can work playing as a very reactive ban heavy comp, but it could also be PvE kind of sitting there like, we don't want them playing this champion again, because whatever comp we draft, they could play this champion. If they play it that efficiently again, we'll be fighting an uphill battle. So kind of reactive ban taking out both a high performing champion, whether it's on their kind of comfort picks or not.
Yep, and we do see Caitlyn banned from VX here, so very standard ban, obviously, on red side. You don't want to give away the Caitlyn ban, especially when you don't have the Trundle or the Renekton to sort of gap close that Caitlyn. And the Ashe actually banned away from PvE here. Very scared of what their ADC was doing last game. Scarlet One definitely showing his favor, as we are one follower away from 300 followers, ladies and gentlemen. This is
Who's
hype,
going to be
ladies
lucky
and
number
gentlemen.
300?
Who is going to be lucky number 300? That is the answer to the question, and we will find that one out during the game, most likely, as things are going spicy in this jungle here, or in this ban phase. We got the Ziggs coming out now for PvE, and the Instalock Shen for Psychonautic up in that top lane, which makes a lot of sense. Shen is the ultimate duelist and has a lot of safe matchups in the top lane, doesn't really lose a lot, and is fairly safe pick. You'll always have a good time with the Shen, and that could also be flexed into the bottom lane. So a lot of good ideas with the Shen being first picked here.
Yeah, it's you don't really need a Shen to lane, because late game he has a really massive shield, so you have that one carry. He can kind of just sit there just to protect that carry. So,
and that's the Volibear locked in for VX here. Volibear obviously just a straight tear in that first game, and was banned actually banned away in the second game. So seeing Volibear banned off there makes a lot of sense. And Set, his companion piece, also showing up here. Set Volibear, obviously right in the same family with each other, both want to just run in and basically just pummel you to the ground. So
Yeah.
they make a dynamic duo, and they also can be both flexed into various amounts of different roles.
Yeah, and even their kits definitely work very well together. Volibear disabling that tower as Set throws you away from a tower. So Set, throwing you away from a tower, you try to somehow escape back to your tower just for Volibear to jump in and disable the tower as if it's no longer there. And then you got the multiple stuns and the pulls and
Ooh. But speaking on which, we have quite a heavy disengage from the side of PvE here with Vapus. Gonna go on that Jhin, so a lot of movement speed once he gets that fourth shot off, and Hecarim locked in for Lunar Effect, most likely, unless they're gonna start flexing that Shen into support and get the Hecarim top. As it will be the Thresh locked in for VX here, so Morgana insta-banned away makes a lot of sense, don't want to get countered, and obviously Morgana is just a really strong support right now, so it's sort of a double whammy.
yeah. I mean, although the Black Shield timing was a little bit off last game, just the threat of even that binding when you're facing a team such as a Shen, a Hecarim, even the Jhin, that just that binding alone makes up for any mistimed Black Shield.
Definitely. And now looking at the last few picks for both teams, we have the ADC and the mid laner most likely for VX, and for PvE we have the mid and support. So not often that you see support being left up for second rotation on blue side, but obviously PvE must have something up their sleeve if they are leaving it up so nicely for K-God, and Thresh is definitely a champion that you're going to want a priority against. So it's obviously not too bad to give the support the buff here, especially when you have a lot of enchanters still alive. You got like Lulu, who hasn't even been touched yet. You've got stuff like Karma, which could also be a nice flex, and you still got a lot of options if you're PvE. But VX, obviously, you don't even know where any of their champions are going yet, besides the Thresh in the support lane. So
Yeah, that is definitely very true.
So their draft is still a high question mark draft. Both drafts not really giving away too much, besides mostly just the bottom lanes already being destined, as the Lucian will be locked in for PvE here as their ADC. So it'll be Thresh Lucian in the bottom lane, the classic spawning Senna bottom lane, possibly, for VX here, unless they're going to flex that Lucian in some sort of solo lane, which would be quite interesting to see.
I mean, I know I've played Lucian mid and have done quite well on it. But I know it's more of a matchup based, I think, if you're playing him in a solo lane. But his range plus his double auto passive that he has off his abilities makes him have a really high damage output at level 2, and not having the threat of a support or a second player kind of interrupt his attacks and his abilities can definitely work in his favor. But
yeah, and speaking on high damage output, we have an Orianna now locked in for PvE. Canopting going to be shining bright on that Orianna. The tin automation that she is, as the Echo will be the response for that Orianna. So will be Echo versus Orianna in the mid lane, unless they're going to flex the Echo in the jungle and have like a set mid or something. But PvE seems to have a pretty standard team comp. Don't think there will be any flexing going around in this one.
Yeah.
However, we will have to wait for champions to lock in on VX's side. So
my guess would be set top with Volibear jungle, and then Echo mid, and then Lucian Thresh bot lane.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The set and the Volibear could be flipped as well. You could put Volibear top and set jungle if you really wanted to. But I do like the Taric picked up. Just the threat of having the ability to make his team invincible, and then having a Hecarim be able to dive that backline without taking any damage, and then having a Shen to shield him when he gets low. Just combo one after another, and then you got the Jhin curtain call, which can just he can basically sit back, let his team do all the fighting, and then just fire in 4 shots and just clean up any of the kills at that point. So
Yeah, this is the type of team comp that I like to see from PvE. They've got Hecarim, Orianna, and Jhin. They've got Can of Tin, Lunar Effect, and Vapus really needing to put out the damage in this game, and they've got a absolutely huge delivery system, like you said. They've got the Hecarim, who's just going to ult directly into the entire team comp, have a Shen coming right out from underneath of him. You're going to have the Orianna ball right on top of him, so as soon as he gets that fear out, there's going to be an Orianna there to clean up 1, 2, maybe even 3 members, get that 6 shockwave, and then clean up all those members, and then Curtain Call, obviously, to take out the loose scraps. As it will be set in the top lane, as you said. So set Volibear Echo, pretty standard. Nothing too crazy coming out. And it will, again, be on VX to start getting ahead in this in this early game. As pretty much every lane is early game dominance versus PvE. Who more so is going to just be looking for good trades and numbers advantaged fights. Whereas VX can sort of choose and pick what they want to do as the game sort of starts up and opens in these early levels.
yeah, and having someone like Echo also really helps, because when you're trying to set momentum of a game, Echo can look to kind of pull that trigger and try to dive into a team fight and kind of force something to happen. But if it doesn't go well for him, he just simply presses R and he gets out completely unscathed. So
That being said, at the same time, you are going to have to be wary of the Shen and the Taric E. Both of those things can be extremely terrifying, especially if the Taric knows how to do like late stage E's, where they can be slightly unreactable at times, like if you use the W after the E.
Yeah. So, Taric in the right hands becomes a monster of a champion. When you put Taric into the right hands, when you have someone who can display any champion's effectiveness, it makes the champion look really strong. But when you have someone like Taric, who has a heal, a shield, a stun, and a damage invincibility, like, what more can you ask for in a kit if you know how to play those to their full potential? So,
yep. And speaking of full potential, we have the Hecarim for Lunar Effect. That is always interesting to see, and I think we are getting into the loadout here. Yes, we are. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys get your votes in. Make sure you give us your ideas about who you think is going to win. Tell it in the chat. We'll maybe read out your answer. And use the exclamation mark vote and FX or PVE for who you think is going to win this game. Personally, I think PVE has it, but I've also caster cursed them last game, so I'm going to keep my vote silent on this one, and we will see what Overcomer thinks. Overcomer, who do you think's going to win this game?
I think I'm gonna probably give this to VX this game, just because with their team comp, they are very oriented in setting up that kind of pull the trigger momentum that they need. You have the damage you need, but if it doesn't work out for them, you have someone like Echo just rewind and just back out of a fight if it gets sticky. So
that is true. There is a lot of chance to disengage for the side of VX, but at the same time, there is a lot of hard engage on the side of the PvE, but it will just be based on momentum, because VX, yes, as it is said, VX does have the momentum going into this game. Thank you very much, Ravensman, in the chat for that little tidbit of information. They do got the momentum going into this game, coming off the win, so it will be a lot more onto the side of PvE to subside their mental and make sure that they can take it clean, take it smoothly before things get out of line.
Yeah, it's gonna be definitely a test of skill, just because you came back from an 0-1 game series deficit, and now you got to prove that you're worthy of the 2-1 win. So.
Yep. And that's obvious to say the least, but at the same time, they are using a different roster than the first game, so they obviously are set up quite differently from the first game, and obviously from the examples that we saw last game, they know how to snowball early, so it should seem like VX has the chance to win this game just based off of how well they can play individually, because we've seen it pay off for them pretty well in terms of like jungle control and like ADC versus ADC. It seems like it sort of leans in the favor of VX at times, but Lunar Effect obviously is a mastermind and can pull rabbits out of hats, even if he's
really
playing,
good at manipulating.
even if he's not playing LeBlanc, like he's just pulling rabbits out of hats for no reason.
Yeah.
It's insane.
He's like, oh, by the way, I'm actually halfway across the map, even though you think I'm ganking you.
Yeah, I was playing Nexus Blitz with him yesterday, and like he pulls rabbits out of hats on champions he doesn't even play. He was playing Vayne yesterday, and he 1v3'd people. I was like, what is this? And now the vote is done. The poll is done. I was gonna say poll and vote, so I've said vol. I'm losing all my words today. I'm just getting too hyped right now. We got PVE.
You messed up. It's all good.
Yeah. It's this series. Okay, so we got PVE with the most votes, 77.78% of you guys. It's about 77.777777 something 8, but it just rounds up to 8 off 2 digits. But you guys think that PVE is going to win this game? Obviously, definitely fan favorites, and as most people say, they do have the little buff that is reigning champs. So they get a little bit of ego at 7. Alrighty, we pause at 7, and we are waiting for a countdown from the man Gurf himself, and we should be getting in the game.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are ready.
And alrighty, we are getting into game now. Getting scoreboards up, time control down, and looking at the rune pages, obviously, to start things off. Pretty standard on both sides. I think nothing really stands out too heavily, but we do see something a little fun going on here. 2 level 1 invades. Both teams ready and able to start up something here. But it looks like PVE is snuffing out a little bit of a level 1 invade from the side of VX. Maybe they know something is coming out, and they are just waiting for this. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen.
No.
They're walking down the bot side now. There's a ward going down. Is not seen. The Thresh is just standing on top of that ward, though. Is something going to happen? The hook onto Shen here, and nothing will happen though. Nothing will happen. It was snuffed out that they snuffed it out. So it's double mind games out here. We got too many mind games.
Did it. They almost pulled it off, but that was really well placed ward to spot them out there.
Yeah, really well placed ward from Happy Game to stop anything crazy from happening, and good on PVE to recognize that they are going to be going for that level 1 invade, because they do have such a strong level 1, and to get an advantage like that would just be curtains really early for PVE, as it will be a pretty standard start now. Volibear will start up on that top side, looking for a little bit of cheese as this bottom lane, but it doesn't look like anything is going to necessarily happen, as they will just get a little bit of early lane advantage.
Yeah, and we do see it's going to be the Fire Dragon as your first dragon to be spawned, so definitely going to be a very high jungle prio, especially for these junglers that both have shown the ability to get an early dragon when they are, or at least kind of get that vision set up around it so the other team can't get that early dragon. And being a fire dragon, it's going to be very crucial for both these teams, as both teams have a high damage output potential.
That's Hin getting level 2 really early here, but actually messing up a little bit with the auto attacks and getting quite a bit of a chunk there. But it shouldn't be too bad in the mid lane for him. He is just waiting until he hits about level 6, level 7 for him to start really just taking control of the wave and not allowing Echo to play the game, because as of right now, he's just having some fun, whereas Set is actually walking down from top lane for slight unknown reasons to try and stop the Hecarim from taking the blue buff, but it will not be the case, and he will end up picking it up. But Volibear will be slightly ahead on the timing for the path. He did not go for his Krugs or Raptors though, so he is going to get this early level 3 gank in the mid lane, going to flash onto Kinnipton, and that is going to be an insta-burst. Just absolutely insane burst from the mid lane of that Volibear flashing. And now Vapus with the flash Q auto attack, not going to end up getting the kill onto Lucian there, but that is a lot of summoner spells burnt all over the map really quickly, as Lunar Effect is now getting caught out by the Echo here. The Orianna is here to save him, however, and it looks like he will just be escorted out, but it's going to be a double lockup for the Set now, and then the Echo W comes down. Very nice Echo W to disengage. The Volibear now is in bottom lane, gonna kill Vapus, and Vapus goes down. They are trying to get the Set now, is PVE, but it looks like a lot of damage coming down, but no kills for the side of PVE. VX, 2 kills up now at this point. Volibear being quite crucial in both of those.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we saw Lunar Effect play Volibear, and now we're getting on Volibear, and so far both times Volibear has been very proficient in what he does as a champion. So
yep, and now a little bit of a trade between the junglers here. Orianna is here first, and it looks like Vapus will be picking up that Volibear. Echo is going to try and pick up the Hecarim on the back end of that, and will be able to. Is going to flash away in the end, though. So that'll be 1-for-1, and really good for the side of VX again, because, like we say, they are the early game team, and they want the action to keep going. And if they have to trade 1-for-1 for it, that's completely fine, especially when their Echo is ending up with the blue buff at the end of that fight. So,
yeah, and you know, they're also sitting at the point where in a 1v1, a 1-for-1 trade is still beneficial for their team, because they are sitting on +2 for the kills. So even if you get a 1-for-1, your team is still matching.
Oh, the missed flash from K-God there. I know, unable to create something, as they will just start chasing down, but it looks like K-God's actually a little wary on the mental there. Unfortunate, missing that flash E, which would have probably secured the kill for them, as he will get hooked now by the Thresh. Is going to get played back, and a lot of damage. The Press the attack will proc from the Lucian, and yeah, it looks like K-God just has to get out of there now. The wave will push, and Lunar Effect is here looking for something a little cheeky, but it looks like he'll just end up backing off with his Taric, as it will be the Dragon might be started up here, as maybe this could be the case. Vapus does seem to be alone at this moment, but there's the Taric, and that is the stun not actually going down onto anyone. And now they see the Volibear is there, but the Shen, nice double taunt, is going to be able to pick up the Lucian off the back of this, most likely. Yes, Vapus will be able to pick up that kill, and it will be Vapus picking up a double kill there. So again, very well played, as the Orianna now just has the Thresh basically alone. Is going to try and kill him by himself, but the Hecarim is going to walk over, is going to knock him back, and that will be Kinnipton picking up a kill. So 3-for-0 on the back end of that fight for the side of PVE. Very well played. Starting to gain back a little bit of control in this game after a slightly rough early game.
Yeah, definitely trying to, you know, send that message to VX. You might have won last game, but you don't just get to walk over this game either.
Yeah, definitely, and that message is quite important at this point in the game, especially 6 minutes into the game, where both of our games have gone just to about the 25-minute point. We haven't seen both teams ever really go past the 30 minutes, and if we see PVE start taking a lead here, we might end up seeing a longer form of game, because both teams are just really scaly. They both have the opportunity to scale, but VX has a much harder opportunity. Like, they'll have to seize the moment a lot harder.
It's definitely harder. I know from personal experience as well, Lucian is definitely a very strong champion in the game, but the later the game goes, he does kind of begin to fall off as an ADC, just because his scaling isn't all that great and really relies heavily on getting multiple.
Oh, Lunar Effect getting caught up in the jungle here is going to get killed. Solo killed by I Can't Breathe. A really good read on where he was placing that E, catching him right off, canceling his recall, and just chasing him down with the ulti. Lunar Effect, kind of sad probably about that at the moment.
Pretty
Zed
unfortunate there.
It's just proxy, and he will lose his blue buff for that. Echo is going to get donated the blue buff for himself, the enemy blue buff too, so Lunar Effect is going to be quite the sad boy walking into lane here, going to be listening to Frank Ocean, obviously, as he just cannot play the game against this Volibear at the moment. I Can't Breathe, really putting on an example right now that Lunar Effect might be the MVP, two-time MVP, but he cannot take away what I am good at, and that is solo killing in the jungle.
Yeah.
As Hecarim is here in the mid lane now. Echo does not have the ulti. Oh wait, yes he does. He does have the ulti, so he is going to trade back onto the Hecarim. Hecarim is taking a lot of damage, but it will not be a trade kill for either side. Good job on the Echo to make it out of that, and double ultis burnt for the side of PVE for only the one Echo ulti, so unable to get the kill. Very unfortunate, but it is completely fine as things are looking actually quite rough in that mid lane. It is a 2-level disadvantage and a quite far CS difference too.
Yeah, very unfortunate, I suppose, is the only real word you can use. When you're down almost 25 CS at under 10 minutes, even though you have the same number of kills and assists, you definitely end up missing a lot of the gold that you need for your power spike. So Orianna will definitely have a lot harder of a time fighting against this Echo, and it will allow Echo to kind of get that freedom to run to those side lanes to help create more pressure.
Yeah, and speaking of gold, I mean, we're looking at CS differences here as Volibear is sort of just chilling in this bottom lane. Did get spotted out by one of those minions though, so he will walk away. Yeah, speaking on CS here, we have about a 20 CS gap in a few lanes, and while the kills might be even, it is 1k gold lead just naturally from the side of VX here. They are sort of outplaying PVE in these lanes, but again, you are not looking to play lanes when you are PVE with this comp. You are looking to get at least 2 items so that all your carries can start dealing mass amounts of damage. You can get really good team fights off, and as long as you're scaling, it doesn't really matter how far behind you are in CS and how far behind you are in map control, because you have the early dragon. You don't need to be worried about like losing Dragon Soul here, as Volibear is going to jump right into the mid lane here. Shen did ulti down, but it will not go off before the death comes down, as Lunar Effect will spot out the Volibear in the jungle here. Will he be able to get the 1v1 though, as that is a lot of damage coming down, and it looks like it will not be a kill for Lunar Effect. Lunar Effect will have to walk away there. I Can't Breathe kind of putting on a clinic in this jungle right now, so they're proving he's the better man as Lucian. Quite low, but it's completely fine.
Lucian just gonna casually dash out, but yeah, I know. Definitely.
Now here in the mid lane, gonna look for a dive onto Lunar Effect. Misses the ulti, unfortunately, from Lunar Effect, as Orianna is now here with the TP, but the ulti from Set, as Orianna is nowhere near the tower anymore. It goes down. Very unfortunate. The Rift Herald is popped, and it looks like it will be the first blood turret going down in the mid lane for the side of the VX. Actually, no, it will not be, as the bottom lane is here to respond. So,
yeah,
high octane
unfortunate there. You know, Orianna forced the TP back to lane because of the amount of CS and XP she's made already, and the moment she lands in with TP, she just gets picked off by Set and dies right away. So,
yeah, but again, really smart on VX for just keeping up this pressure. They just keep on going. I mean, it seems like as soon as they're done with a fight, they just have another person coming in to rotate behind you guys and take PvE out. Basically, it's sort of like their macro is just highly out superior to what PvE is doing at the moment. It seems like PvE is getting sort of like strung around the map, as things are just sort of happening, and they're unable to really find good answers for it, as Lunar Effect just keeps getting caught out in his jungle scene and unfortunately unable to, you know, make an impact on the map because he's always being tracked and always known where he is from VX's side. As things are looking rougher and rougher for PVE at this point. The gold deficit now going down to about 3k for the side of VX, and things are getting quite slowed down to this point. And while that may be a good thing in some eyes, as Andy actually does get hooked here, Volibear is down here, but the Targ ulti will come down, and the Shen TP will be there too, as Volibear is trying to run away now at this point. The curtain call will come down, but it looks like that is just a curtain call of failure, as things did not go down and things did not happen, unfortunately, for the side of PVE, as they're just sort of scrambling at this point to try and find something worth taking.
Yeah, they've definitely kind of lost that competitive edge that they kind of had from that first game. Not too sure kind of what made them fall apart.
That fresh hook was absolutely beautiful right through all the minions, and now Lucian is just chasing down on Vapus, but it does not look like there will be a kill to be had in that moment, as that thresh hook through the minions was quite nasty. I would not have seen that thresh hook in a million miles if I was laning ABC, so...
Yeah, I mean, one thing that PvE does have going for them is, I think, when it comes to the late game, Jhin is a lot more harder of a scaling champion compared to Lucian. Lucian having to rely heavily on his kit, landing his abilities to get that double auto passive, whereas Jhin just has to straight auto attack. His abilities do deal a heavy amount of damage, but when push comes to shove, you know, Jhin with that fourth shot will do more damage than a Lucian with 2 or 3 auto attacks combined. So
yeah, and that being said, he already has his Infinity Edge. He's got his Cull complete. He's really strong right now, and he's looking to be the central damage on the side of PvE. If Vapus can keep going with the momentum that he currently has, he could probably solo carry this game.
Yeah, I mean...
But that being said, he is basically the only shining light at this moment, as Riphild is being started up by the side of VX. Vapus is 3-1-1, and pretty much the only member on the team that could realistically start something worthwhile, as Tarek is going to be there to escort the Orianna out of lane. Orianna is just not having fun, though. She is down 2 levels onto this Echo, almost the same level as the bottom lane from VX, and the same level as her ADC. She is just not having fun at all in this lane.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely one-sided, or a one-champion carry. Vapus definitely going to have to put the effort up to keep his team's dream alive. But I think they've also kind of drafted well for it. You know, you have a Taric, you have a Shen, both which are very good at protecting a single champion. And then you have someone like Orianna, who you can use to heal. So...
Yep, and now we see a big fight in the bottom lane here. Lucian is going to be able to pick up K-God off the back of that Tarek ulti, and now a lot of damage coming down from Vapus, but it just doesn't seem like he has anything to answer. The play back onto Vapus here. Echo is going to hop in, and now here comes the Hecarim, but he is just going to blow up before anything can happen, and Orianna is unable to get the ultimate that she so wants, as Vapus is now going to get taken down by Super Frankie, and it is just Can of Tin trying to walk away now. The Lucian is going to pick it up, though, with the passive proc, and it looks like there'll be a bit of a trade in the top lane, but that is a really unfortunate fight for the side of PvE, and it looks like VX are just starting to take control of this game. They're up about 7,000 gold at this point, and it just doesn't look like PvE has an answer to what the storm that VX is brewing up right now.
Yeah, and you know, they did get that Ocean Dragon, and it's going to be a Mountain Soul this game. So we do get that break off the Cloud Soul, but you know, if VX picks up a Mountain Soul on top of the team they already have, you know, giving Set, Thresh, and Volibear a Mountain Soul pretty much makes them unkillable when you add in the regen you get from that, even just that single Ocean Dragon.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really strong soul for VX to have, and that being said, it's also very strong if Lunar Effect can start picking up a few of these dragons. If you can steal maybe 1 or 2, those defensive stats can be quite high, are quite potent for the for leveraging a little bit more armor in a fight that you can use to maybe just jump in and get like 2, maybe 3 kills before things start going absolutely awry, as things have been going for PvE in the past few fights.
Yeah, I mean, VX, kind of in a reverse or a more beneficial spot all around though. They're sitting on a 4-0 Echo and a Lucian, so although Lucian does kind of fall off on that damage late game, you have the Echo who can kind of one-shot that Jhin, and if he does get caught out, has a quick way to kind of get that escape before he pays too heavily for it. So if Vapus is able to kind of carry the damage for his team can sit in a good spot. However, you do have 2 champions that can kind of just sit there and be like, no, you don't get to fight in team fights with us. You're going to sit at a quarter HP.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be really hard at this point for PvE to really look back to see what they can do better at this point. Because there's really not a lot that could be done that they aren't really doing already. They're holding their waves. They're just buying their time. They're trying to find something. And this gold lead just keeps getting exponentially higher and higher every time we look at it. I mean, now it's at about 8. I think it's 8k, yeah? 8k at this point, and it's
pretty close.
It's looking like curtains. They are really snowballing this early game lead, and most of their champions are absolutely terrifying right now. You got a whole item advantage on the Echo here. About, oh my god, it's 3,000 gold up for the Echo. There's almost a higher gold lead in mid lane than there is overall in the game. Like,
yeah, I mean, looking at wards, you have VX who have both sides of the jungle on PvE's jungle, like bot side jungle, lit up like a Christmas tree, whereas PvE only really have a couple wards in top side.
But it looks like Lunar Effect is going to be chasing down onto the Echo here. Is the Echo going to be going down? It does not look like it will be the case. As things are happening, but Echo does not go down. Echo with the ult, he almost got caught there, but did not end up having it happen to him.
But yeah, Vision, I don't know how. I know I stress this a lot whenever I'm casting games, but Vision makes a huge difference. And taking a look at these ward scores, the supports are fairly even, mid lane's fairly even, but then top lane set is more than triple the Vision score of the Shen, and the Volibear has more than double the Vision score of the Hecarim. So all that additional vision that they're providing or denying definitely is kind of giving them that freedom. Not only can they play as aggressive as they want, they have the vision to kind of give themselves the information.
Speaking of aggressive, here's Lunar Effect getting caught up in the bottom lane here. The Shen TP did end up going through at the very end of that, but that is not what you wanted to have happen when your taxi service gets taken out. As that is a giant shockwave coming down. Thresh is almost going to burn down here, not going to have it happen to him though. And it looks like things will just be disengaged for VX here, as Vapus is walking in looking a little bit aggressive, but he will just get absolutely blown up. That is another kill. K-God gonna get picked up on the back end too, and the culling will pick up that full 5-man ace for the side of VX, and it's looking pretty curtains at this point. It's a 10k gold lead. VX has got bounties on 3 of their members, and it looks like this is game. Yeah, it looks like
all 3 of the people that VX wanted to get fed, got fed, and they're holding their bounties. So, not something PvE wanted to happen this game.
Oh, the beautiful Thresh hook onto Lunar Effect, and the beautiful set E, able to pick up 2 kills. Oh no, only 1 kill, but the Shen is there to defend, and it looks like they will just walk away after taking the inhibitor. Probably walk over to that Baron as the the curtain call will come down, and the Volibear, just a little bit of BM here, gonna tank all those tower shots and do a little dance.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if PVE has kind of acknowledged the fact that they're kind of not playing how they had planned. You know, even when you go in, you win a game and then you lose your second game in a series like this. You kind of you as a team, you'd want to sit back and say, okay, what didn't work out? Do we need better shot calls? Do we need to kind of like rotate better? But so far between last game and this game, although they're playing well individually, I feel as a team they've kind of started to lack that kind of synergy of rotating versus needing to be like objective focused, but lane focused at the same time, and it put them just at a deficit because when jungle was getting invaded, the team wasn't there to support, and then the 1v1s ended up being lost because you ended up being too far behind. And then at this point, even if your team's doing well, one guy can't 1v5.
Super Frankie getting the assassination in the midst of 3 people onto Canopton in that mid lane. Very well played, and like you were saying, yeah, the macro and just how well they are playing as a team, VX has really shown up this game as being a high contender for for one of the high up and coming, or for one of the best up and coming teams in the league at the moment, as they are just putting on a clinic on PVE this game. And it seems like they have no answer to what VX is currently doing to them in their rivers, in their jungle, and in their base in the end.
Yeah, and I mean, how do you answer this when if you're a PvE in this situation, kills, you're looking at 4-17 as a deficit. VX is now also sitting on Mountain Soul Point. You're sitting at 25 minutes, and you're all completely underleveled, Jin, your 80 carry, is doing the best on your team, but he just doesn't have the health or resistances to be able to survive.
And when that stuff happens, I guess it just makes it even harder, because that's your tank. That's your main tank.
Yeah.
And he just disappeared.
I mean, like, just keeping an eye on levels, Jin being level 12, you have the level 12 Orianna, 13 from the Hecarim, but the Echo is sitting on level 15. So, he's sitting on 3 complete items. He has the complete Soul Stealer, sorry, he has a complete Dark Seal, sorry. And 9-0, almost completely full build, about to hit that level 16 power spike with that ultimate, with the increased cooldown and damage. And so, if he's already assassinating your tank and everyone else on your team, how much
Where did
more?
that set come from? Okay, the set in the back line gonna knock Vapus into K-God, and that'll just be 2 quick kills.
Yeah.
Straight down onto the members of PVE, and that is a nice hook onto Psychonautic. Not gonna cancel the Shen taunt, but it will not matter, as this Volibear is just so huge walking through their jungle, or walking through their base at this point, and it looks like it'll be a 2-1 victory in the set for LX, or VX, sorry. As Lunar Effect tries to look for something at the very end of it, but that Echo is just too strong, and that is a 2-1 for the side of LX, or VX. I said LX twice. From the side of VX coming through. Very strong play, and wow, really well played.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give that shout out to that Thresh. Being a support player myself, I tend to enjoy watching good support players, set up those teammates, not taking those kills unless their champion can make use of them. But in the end there, I'm pretty sure Thresh didn't miss a single hook. So even in the last 30 seconds, he landed over 10 perfect hooks and got killed. Like, he caused those ace. If it wasn't for those hooks, I don't know if they necessarily would have had that ace. The game still would have ended there, I think. But the members of PvE might have still been alive when the game ended versus them all facing the gray screen when the game ended.
Yeah, definitely a statement to be had for VX there. They really put on a clinic in terms of how they played against PvE, how they sort of dismantled them after that game one, and really just putting on a show for us. I mean, I can't even believe that this is one of our 1-1 teams. I can only imagine how good our one of our 2-0 teams are, considering just how cleanly they played that last game. But overall, I think I would have to give it to Super Frankie on that game for just absolutely demolishing Tin in that mid lane and then absolutely
Yes.
demolishing everyone else in every lane.
10,
It
0,
was,
and 6 on an Echo. That's he hit that level 16 at the end of the game, and when you're sitting that fed as an Echo, it's kind of hard to throw. Like, even if your team as a whole collectively decided to start throwing a game on purpose, you basically can't lose at that point because you've reached the point where you can always one shot that squishy. You can dive that backline, you could dive that Oriana, and you can't dive for it because you can basically guarantee take out that one member of the team, and the moment you're low, the CC will run out and you press alt and you're back to full health outside of the fight. So
yep. And with all of that said, I think we are sending it over to the analyst desk now for Gurf to break down this series for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you, Gurf, for letting us, as always, cast over the amazing games that we saw today. So make sure you guys follow Wedgel Gurf on Twitch and everywhere else, and make sure you guys are following this stream. Hopefully we hit 300 followers during that game. I did not see whether or not we did, but we are currently one away, so I will send it over to the analyst desk, and Gurf will break it down for you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Some spicy games indeed. It's PvE with a big game number 1, but after the first game, going to the second, VX come through with their full roster, and in game number 3, some of the cleanest frickin' tower dives I have ever seen. VX pull it together and claim the series for themselves, going 2-1. So that will bring their record to 2-1 and put PvE at 1-2 after tonight. But no, I cannot commend VX enough on that last game. They did so well, and if you guys saw me in chat too, that was just clean plays all around. The communication coming out of VX, I would love to be a fly on the wall for their comms, because the dives were popping off clean. They had their top laner, Aqua Anthony, coming down, and again, that synergy between him and I Can't Breathe, his jungler, is just so damn clean. Take a look at the bottom too, where Happy Game just spoon-feeding Scarlet won those kills, making excellent hooks, and the Lucian just getting stronger and stronger as this game goes on, becoming an absolute menace. And last but not least, the spear of this entire game, the Echo, Super Frankie, coming through 10-0-6, did not die. That's perfect KDA. He did amazing. You saw how much damage he does. Poor Psychonautic on the Shen got exploded. I was just wondering, like, wait, that's a tank. That's your tank Shen gone like that to an Echo. So I just, as good as PvE was coming out, VX came and played out of their minds once they had their full roster together, and the communication was just on point because they pulled dive after dive after dive and did something with them after. It wasn't only just a dive. They rotated. What are we doing? Okay, we got a kill. Now what? We go for tower. Do we go for Baron? Do we go for Dragon? They were always on top of that, and that was beautiful stuff to see from them. So guys, before we go to break, I'm going to open that poll up so you guys can vote for player of the game. Make sure to toss those votes in. It's exclamation mark vote, and then whatever position you are going to vote for. I see a couple coming in now. Excellent. Good stuff to see. So we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to announce our player of the game before we end off our stream tonight. But congratulations, VX, on taking the series tonight. But we will be right back to announce our player of the game, guys. So don't go anywhere. Hello, and welcome back. VX coming in with the victory tonight, going 2-1 over PVE in the series, and then taking them to a 2-1 in their overall standings there. But a couple of fun stuff for you guys right now, as you guys voted at home for the winning team, and not only is this person our player of the game, but they're also our 300th follower here at Legends Esports. Congratulations, Super Frankie, coming through 10-0-6 on the Echo. A perfect KDA and a perfect way to round out the night. Congratulations, Super Frankie, and congratulations, VXs. They are up one more game in the series. But I think what the casters were saying were right. If these are our 1-1 teams, what do the 2-0 teams look like? I am very much looking forward to where these splits are going to go. It's so much fun watching these guys play at this caliber. It's fast. It's clean, and I love watching it. So thank you very much for all the entertainment. Just a couple announcements, guys. Make sure to go ahead and head on over to our shop to check out our brand new merch line that is live and ready to go. Jerseys are on their way, so keep an eye out for an announcement on that. And if there's any shipping delays, that is fully imparted to the COVID situation we're dealing with. So thank you for your patience on that. I did get notifications today that my sweater I ordered is on the way. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And when I get it, you guys are going to see it right here on stream. So keep an eye out for that. Also, this weekend, make sure to tune in Sunday, 3 p.m. EST here, right here on the channel for our Valorant stream. It's going to be the LAS League there. The Papegas taking on Keswick Chaos. Going to be tuning in to watch that because one of my boys are playing in that game too. So looking forward to seeing my buddy Baldo Mode over on Keswick Chaos. Man's got some talent in Valorant. Gotta be watching out for him. So don't blow it. If you're watching, I'm hyping up my boy. You better not blow it now. But guys, thank you so much for all your love and support you bring here to the chat. It's crazy to see how much this channel is growing, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. But thanks again for tuning in, guys. This has been your boy Gurf. Make sure to check out the shop. Be back here on Sunday for those Valorant games, as they are going to be very, very spicy. Going to be fun to see what these teams can bust out here. But with that is going to end off our stream. So guys, have a wonderful night. Hope you're all staying safe and healthy. This is your boy Gurf signing out. Mwah! I love all your faces. And we'll see you Sunday. All right. Cheers, guys. Good night.